When Naruto was falsely accused of attempting to assassinate the Raikage, the Leaf branded him a criminal and threw him in chains. Alone, betrayed, and abandoned by those he trusted most, his spirit nearly shattered, until the one person who believed in him stepped forward to break his cage. "It wasn't me," Naruto cried out, voice trembling between anger and desperation. His eyes darted to Kakashi, searching for even a flicker of belief. "Kakashi-sensei, you know me. Yesterday I was at Ikaraku with Aim, and then I stayed up all night playing shogi with Shikamaru. Please, you have to believe me." But Kakashi remained silent, and Tsunade's hard voice cut through the room like a blade. "Until we uncover the truth, Naruto, you'll be sent to Hozuki Castle." Hozuki Castle? What's that supposed to mean?" Naruto demanded, panic creeping into his voice. "A prison run by the hidden grass," Kakashi finally answered. His tone was heavy, unreadable. Yamato folded his arms. "It's where dangerous shinobi from every nation are sent. People go in, but not everyone comes back out." Naruto's face twisted with outrage. "But I didn't do anything. Ask Aim, ask Shikamaru, they'll tell you the same. Someone must have transformed into me and framed me. Besides, Kumo's days away, it's impossible I could have been there." "Stop spouting nonsense, Naruto." Tsunade slammed her palms against her desk, anger rumbling in her voice. "Kumo wouldn't risk a war without proof. And don't forget, you're infamous for your shadow clones and monstrous chakra reserves. The evidence points to you." Naruto's fist shook. "Evidence. Kumo tried to kidnap Hinata-chan years ago and then blamed us for their failure. Why can't you see this doesn't add up?" "I don't want to hear it. Guards, take him away," Tsunade barked. Naruto's instincts screamed at him to summon a shadow clone to fight his way out, but Yamato was already waiting. "Mokyutin, 4 Pillars Prison." Wooden bindings erupted from the floor, coiling around Naruto like serpents and locking him inside a solid cage. "W8, please." Naruto's voice cracked as Tsunade walked over and ripped the forehead protector from his brow. "I'm innocent, believe me." Forced to his knees, bound hand and foot, Naruto cried out once more, his voice raw, desperate. "Kakashi-sensei, Sakura-chan, Granny Tsunade, you know me, I would never do something like this." But no one reached for him. Inside the grim walls of Hozuki Castle, Naruto stood in line among strangers awaiting inspection. A man with graying blue hair and shackles on his wrists leaned toward him. "So kid, what they lock you up for?" Naruto's anger exploded. "I didn't do anything, damn it." The man chuckled, leaning back. "Relax, I messed up on a mission myself, was ordered to wipe out a village, but I let a kid live. My village didn't forgive me." Naruto's stomach twisted. You killed innocent people." The man shot him a strange look. "What village are you from?" "Konohagakure." A smirk spread across the prisoner's face. "Figures. Konoha must be soft. Shinobi are tools, nothing more. Orders are absolute. Kill who we're told, steal what we're told. That's how the world works." Naruto grabbed him by the collar. "Don't you dare talk about my village like that. I'll find who set me up, and I'll prove them wrong." Before the situation exploded, another prisoner wearing a bandana stepped between them. "Enough. Hozuki Castle is where shinobi come when there's no village left to shield them. Murderers, thieves, doesn't matter the excuse anymore. In here, you face the weight of your actions." Naruto's eyes blazed. "I don't need excuses because I didn't do anything." The bandana-wearing man shook his head as a guard called him forward. "Then you'd better realize the hole you've fallen into before it swallows you whole." That night, Naruto attempted escape using a shadow clone, but the seal on his chest flared like molten fire, tearing through his body. Weakened, unable to mold chakra, he was swiftly recaptured and dumped into solitary confinement. 3 days later, "Defeat Mui, and the seal will vanish." The words had echoed in his head since the void of solitary. So when he returned to the yard, Naruto wasted no time confronting Mui, the warden himself. "I heard beating you breaks the Tenro seal. I don't want to fight without cause, but if that's the only way out, I'll take it." Mui stared at him blankly. "You cannot win." "Won't know till I try," Naruto roared, charging with a fist cocked back. Mui sidestepped, slamming a kick into his gut. As Naruto wheezed for air, Mui's voice stayed flat. "What is your village to you?" Naruto stumbled up and swung again, only to be knocked back by another ruthless kick. "Have you ever killed a stranger, someone you held no grudge against, just because your village demanded it?" Naruto coughed blood, glaring. You're saying that's the only way to protect them? Exactly. That's bullshit, Naruto snarled, but before he could rush again, the seal ignited across his chest. His body convulsed, fire crawling under his skin. Mui crouched, his voice cutting into Naruto's agony. Even if you haven't dirtied your own hands, others in your village did it for you. Your peace exists because someone else bore the blood. That's the truth you've ignored. As guards dragged Naruto's broken body away, Mui's final words echoed like poison. Remember this, it was your Hokage who sent you here. You were discarded. Cast aside like a tool too worn to use. For trying to escape, Naruto was thrown back into the hole, this time for 5 long days. The narrow cell walls pressed down on him, cold and merciless. He slammed his fist into the stone, rage boiling in his chest. How could they do this to me? After all I sacrificed. After every battle I fought for them. After I nearly gave my life for the village time and time again. Alone in the dark, betrayal burned hotter than the seal on his chest. It had been less than a month since the godlike leader of the Akatsuki struck Konoha, wiping the hidden leaf off the map and leaving behind nothing but a crater. The village once regarded as the strongest had been reduced to ruins, with nearly 80% of its civilians and over half of its shinobi force perishing under Pain's assault. Yet, against impossible odds, Naruto had fought with everything he had and even managed to reach Nagato Uzumaki's heart, convincing him to revive those who had fallen. No one in the history of Konohagakure had ever done something so miraculous. Naruto had become the savior of the leaf. For the first time, his strength, sacrifices, and character were fully recognized by everyone. But now, only a few weeks later, that same hero sat behind bars, branded as a criminal for something he had never done. Thrown into the infamous Hozuki Castle, a prison meant for the worst shinobi on the continent, Naruto's anger burned hotter than ever. Mui's bitter words echoed in his ears, refusing to leave him. Remember this, no matter how much you endure for your village, they'll never truly care. To them, you're just a tool, easily thrown away once you've served your purpose. Naruto shut his eyes and clenched his fists so tightly his knuckles turned white. Out of everyone, Tsunade was the last person he'd ever expected to betray him. She had been like family to him. His teasing nickname, Bachan, wasn't just for laughs. It was his way of placing her in the role of an aunt or even a grandmother figure in his life. Rolling over on the cold stone floor, Naruto let out a shaky breath. 5 days of solitary confinement felt like a lifetime. Since becoming a shinobi, he had rarely ever been completely alone. If his teammates or friends weren't around, he always had his shadow clones to keep him company. Sometimes on lonely nights, he would even play cards or kick around a ball with them just to pass the time. But here he had nothing. No clones, no Ikaraku ramen, no missions, no friends, just silence. Silence and his own thoughts, dragging him deeper into the bitterness festering in his chest. All he could do was dwell on how unjustly his village had cast him aside, the same village he had bled and nearly died for countless times. His master's words drifted back into his mind, soft yet haunting. I can see hatred spreading. I wanted to stop it, but I don't know how. Still, I believe there will come a day when people truly understand one another. Naruto's teeth ground together. Rage bubbled up until he couldn't hold it in anymore. Understanding each other, what a damn joke, he yelled, slamming his fists against the floor. They didn't even give me a chance to speak. No trial, no defense, nothing. After everything I've done, after everything I've given up for them, this is how they repay me. His voice cracked, tears streaming down his face. He couldn't even remember the last time he had cried like this. Damn it. Damn it all, he roared, hammering the floor again and again until his fists were raw. And then, an earth-shaking explosion rattled the entire castle. Dust and stone fell from above as the ground trembled. Naruto shot to his feet and rushed to the tiny barred window, peering outside. The dark skies over Hozuki Castle were suddenly filled with a storm of white paper butterflies. At their center floated a blue-haired woman with angelic wings, her Akatsuki cloak swaying gently in the wind. Her calm voice carried across the entire fortress, leaving no corner untouched. I have no wish for needless bloodshed. Hand over Uzumaki, Naruto, and you will be spared. This is your final warning. Naruto froze. Konan, what the hell is she doing here? He hadn't forgotten Nagato's loyal companion. After Pain's attack, they had parted peacefully, Konan walking away after Nagato sacrificed his life to restore Konoha's dead. Never in his wildest thoughts had Naruto imagined she would one day come to rescue him, especially after his own friends and village had turned their backs on him. High on the fortress wall, Mui stood with a sharp glare fixed on the floating Kunoichi. Since the founding of Hozuki Castle, no prisoner has ever escaped. Leave, Akatsuki. You are not welcome here. His subordinates exchanged uneasy glances. Despite the attack already underway, Mui showed no intention of striking back. That alone unsettled them. Normally, he never hesitated against intruders. But Mui, as a veteran shinobi of the hidden grass, knew exactly who he was facing. Konan was no ordinary enemy. An S-rank Kunoichi who could take to the skies always held the advantage. I gave you a choice, Konan's voice echoed again, her body breaking apart into a storm of paper butterflies. You've chosen your fate. Within seconds, the butterflies spread across the walls of the castle, each one inscribed with explosive tags. Mui's eyes widened. Everyone, get away from the walls now. But the warning came too late. Some shinobi leapt to safety, but most of the wardens weren't skilled in chakra arts. They couldn't escape in time. A deafening chain of explosions erupted. The mighty walls of Hozuki Castle crumbled in fire and smoke, prisoners cheering wildly as they saw their chance at freedom. Mui ignored them. With his celestial prison technique still binding their bodies, they wouldn't make it far. Any inmate who crossed the invisible limit would burst into flames from the inside out. Forming rapid hand signs, Mui inhaled deeply and unleashed a torrent of fire, engulfing the skies in crimson flames. But his attack was cut short by a whistling sound, a massive paper chakram tearing through his inferno, nearly slicing his head clean off. Only pure instinct saved him. He ducked just in time, but the weapon looped back like a predator. At the last second, Mui swapped himself with a nearby warden. A sickening slash echoed as the man was cleaved in two, his lifeless body collapsing before he even knew what had struck him. Without hesitation, Mui charged Konan, summoning a flaming blade from his arm. "Katen, heavenly prison fire sword," he bellowed, slashing upward in a blazing arc. But Konan dissolved into paper before the strike could connect, reforming behind him. Anticipating this, Mui thrust his palm at her, shouting, "Katen, Tenro!" His signature technique that sealed an opponent's chakra completely. His hand connected, and a triumphant smirk curled across his lips. No shinobi had ever escaped Tenro. Once sealed, even the strongest became as helpless as civilians. But his victory was short-lived. The Konan before him began to glow ominously, her body unraveling into hundreds of explosive tags. It was only then that Mui realized he had sealed a paper clone. The resulting explosion tore through the courtyard with catastrophic force. Everyone, prisoners and wardens alike, froze in shock. Mui, the man they had seen as invincible, the enforcer whose sealing technique made escape impossible, now lay on the ground, his body blackened and broken beyond recognition. The sight of his death shook even the hardest criminals to their core. Konan's sharp eyes swept across the battlefield, her tone deceptively calm as she spoke. "I'll ask once more, where is Uzumaki Naruto?" Her voice was even, but no one was fooled. The quiet edge in her words carried more weight than outright fury ever could. After tearing down the castle's massive walls and effortlessly dispatching Mui, her composure only made her presence more terrifying. The countless paper tags drifting around her like a living storm gave her the aura of a fallen angel, beautiful, yet undeniably lethal. The moment Mui's life was extinguished, Naruto felt the shackle on his chakra, the Tenro seal, snap apart. Relief washed through him for the briefest second before his body moved on instinct. Forming the familiar seal, he summoned a shadow clone, then immediately molded a sphere of blue chakra in his palm. With a single strike, the Rasengan tore through the rock and steel of his cell, blasting apart the outer wall in a violent eruption. Clambering out, Naruto froze mid-step. The courtyard was a ruin of smoke, fire, and rubble, and at its center hovered an ethereal figure with wings of paper. "Konan, what are you doing here?" His voice cracked, tension knotted in his throat. The storm of paper butterflies swirled around her, converging as she descended gracefully before him. "I arrived just in time," Konan said softly. Naruto, despite his ragged state, clothes torn, dirt smeared across his face, eyes sunken from days in confinement, stood tall. He wasn't broken, just worn. "How did you even know I was here?" he demanded. "And why save me?" Her gaze softened. "Did you already forget our promise? The hidden rain and I stand with you. Always." Naruto's mind flickered back to her words after Nagato's death. "Yahiko and Nagato's dreams now live on in you. Nagato placed his faith in you, and so will I. You won't carry their burden alone. The hidden rain will share it with you." Back then, he hadn't thought much of it. He had been too consumed by rebuilding the wreckage pain left behind, too caught up in the chaos of Konoha's recovery. He hadn't realized that Conan's words were not a fleeting promise. They were truth, and she had come here when no one else had. 8 long days he had spent locked away, stewing in bitterness. Anger at Konoha's betrayal. Hurt from being abandoned by people he once called family. Misery from realizing his supposed friends had turned their backs on him. All of that pain had built into a storm inside him, ready to explode. But standing before Konan, the one person who hadn't left him to suffer, he felt a different emotion: gratitude. "Thank you," Naruto muttered, lowering his head. He couldn't force out anything more. The silence between them was filled by the distant sounds of battle, the screams, the clash of weapons, the burning of what once was the castle's courtyard. "Konoha rejected you," Konan finally said. "So what now? What path will you choose?" Naruto's throat went dry. "I don't know." He had never imagined this future. A world where his master, his Hokage, his teammates, and his friends abandoned him. A life where Konoha itself cast him aside. "Then rest first," Konan said, wings unfurling from her back in a burst of paper. "When your mind is clear, you'll know where to go." She extended her hand. "Take it. Let's leave this place." Naruto reached for her, but before their hands could guide them to freedom, the earth beneath them cracked apart. A massive tree branch erupted from the ground, splitting into jagged tendrils that lunged at them with terrifying speed. Konan dispersed into a whirlwind of papers, Naruto leaping aside at the same instant. Back in the shattered remains of his cell, a clone dispelled with a soft pop. At once, red markings spread across Naruto's face, his pupils sharpening into feral slits. Even under the crushing pain of the Tenro seal, he had forced a clone to gather natural energy in secret. Sage Mode had been his hidden escape plan, but Konan had arrived first. Now fully in Sage Mode, Naruto's senses expanded. Every chakra signature in the area lit up in his awareness. Through the smoke and flames, he could clearly feel them. People he knew. People he once trusted. "Why are you standing with the Akatsuki, Naruto? Get away from her," a familiar voice shouted. From the rubble of the collapsed wall, a massive octopus tentacle whipped through the air toward Konan. She moved to scatter into paper again, but Naruto blurred forward first, planting himself between her and the incoming strike. His arms locked around the monstrous appendage, muscles straining with sage-enhanced strength. With a roar, he swung it over his shoulder, slamming the tailed beast into a distant pagoda. The impact shattered stone and wood, leveling the building in a single blow. As the dust cleared, Naruto saw them. Konoha and Kumo Shinobi gathered together. Yamato, Kakashi, Tsunade, Sakura, Teams 8 and 10, Team Guy, Shizune, Sai. And more. Tsunade's voice rang out. "Naruto, what are you doing? Why attack Killer Bee? Why defend that woman?" Naruto's body trembled, his voice raw with fury. "That's it, that's all you have to say. You locked me in that hellhole with no trial, no proof, nothing. She saved me. She came when no one else did." "Oh, quit your whining already," Sakura snapped, storming forward. Her fist cocked back, ready to slam into him like always. Naruto's hand shot up, catching her strike with ease. His voice was ice. "Not this time, Sakura. Let go of me, idiot," she screamed, charging her other fist with chakra. But Naruto had already seen it through sage senses. His rage exploded. Before her punch could land, he yanked her forward, his knee slamming brutally into her gut. The air left her lungs in a strangled gasp, spittle flying. Without hesitation, he hurled her into a nearby building. The wall caved in as her body crashed through, leaving her limp and unconscious on the ground. Kakashi's horrified voice cut through the chaos. "Naruto, why attack your own comrades?" Naruto turned, his eyes glowing crimson, pupils razor-thin. "Comrades?" His voice was venom. "What kind of comrades throw one of their own into the worst prison alive without evidence, just to please another village? It's not like that, Yamato tried, desperation in his tone. It was strategy. Our mission was to expose the hidden grasses plan. We've been nearby this whole time to keep you safe. Naruto let out a bitter laugh. A mission, huh? So that makes it okay? Yes. Exactly, Yamato said quickly, relief crossing his face. Naruto's expression darkened. You really think I'd buy that garbage? Do you take me for a fool? His voice shook with barely restrained fury, his chakra bubbling violently. His whisker marks thickened, his nails lengthened into claws, and a crimson aura flared to life around him. Shikamaru spoke up. Naruto, it's true. It was planned between Konoha and Kumo. Just listen to you. Naruto cut him off with a snarl. We played shogi all night before they dragged me away. You could have spoken up for me, but you didn't. Shikamaru fell silent. He knew Naruto was beyond reason now. Naruto's voice broke, fury and heartbreak mingling as tears threatened to fall. How many times have I bled for this village? How many times have I saved it? Who else here has given more than I have? His voice rose into a roar. And what did I get for it? Chains, betrayal, cast out like trash. The corrosive chakra ate away his tears before they even touched his skin. Naruto had always been on the outside looking in. Since childhood, the villagers treated him like a burden, whispering insults when they thought he couldn't hear, and pulling their kids away whenever he came near. The stares of disdain and fear followed him everywhere. Even so, after graduating from the academy, he had saved the village time and time again. Just over a month ago, he had faced down the leader of the Akatsuki and even convinced him to bring back everyone killed during the invasion. For the first time in his life, Naruto believed things were changing. After all, they had hailed him as the hero of the leaf for stopping pain. But now, standing there with his voice steady and his tears long dried, Naruto realized the truth. It was all a lie, he muttered. I'm done with Konoha. He turned his back, but Tsunade's voice rang out, sharp and desperate. Do you understand what you're doing, Naruto? You'd really abandon the village. I know exactly what I'm doing, he replied without looking at her. And your dream, you swore you'd become Hokage. Are you throwing that away? Naruto stayed silent. Instead, he turned to Konan. Let's go. Konan gave a short nod, and together they leapt into the air, ready to leave it all behind. But escape wouldn't come so easily. The Eight-Tails host, Killer Bee, had recovered and sent half a dozen massive tentacles their way. At the same time, Yamato summoned towering trees to block their path while Kakashi slammed a hand to the ground, calling forth his Ninken. You really think you can just walk out? Kiba barked, launching into his clan's beast-like attack with Akamaru. Naruto dropped out of sage mode, flashing through hand signs. Tajukage Bunshin no Jutsu. In an instant, 1,000 clones filled the courtyard of Hozuki Castle, their cries echoing like thunder. Half of them transformed with a unified shout. Henge! 500 Narutos became Konan, pairing with the remaining clones, and the pairs scattered in every direction like smoke. Outnumbered and overwhelmed, the combined forces of Konoha and Kumo could only watch as the endless swarm scattered. Stopping them all was impossible. Author's note: if it wasn't already obvious by the title, Naruto leaving Konoha and becoming a missing nin is the direction this story is going. This chapter makes it crystal clear. I'm honestly so excited for where this is heading. Think about it. What happens when Obito comes for Konan but finds Naruto at her side? What if Naruto destroys the Rinnegan, or worse, claims it for himself? And what about Danzo and the village? Will they let their Jinchuriki slip away so easily? There are endless possibilities. In a quiet tavern, a blonde woman tipped back another bottle of sake. One more, she demanded hoarsely. Yes, ma'am, the bartender stammered, sliding 3 bottles her way instead of 1. By the time she staggered outside, the sky was already paling with dawn. Her steps were uneven, shoulders brushing walls and fences as she wandered toward the outskirts. She could have purged the alcohol from her system in a moment, but she chose not to. The haze was the only thing numbing the storm inside her, but the chill morning air brought back clarity she didn't want, memories of the day before. I'm protecting her because she's the one who saved me. She was there when you abandoned me in a cell for a crime I didn't commit. The words rang in her head, cutting deep. Tsunade's vision blurred with tears as she stumbled through the empty streets. She never imagined her choices would drive Naruto to this. She had meant to protect him by keeping the truth from him, but instead she had crushed his trust. I should have insisted Killer B be sent to Hozuki Castle instead. I should have fought harder. Konoha and Kumo had suspected Kusagakure was plotting something dangerous. To prevent another war, they needed bait. A Jinchuriki. B was too precious to the Reikage, leaving only Naruto. Despite how unsuited he was for such a mission, they had sent him. And now, the cost of that decision was clearer than ever. "How do I make this right?" she whispered, wiping her face with shaky hands. Naruto had always been forgiving, always quick to smile again no matter how much he was hurt, but everyone has limits. Being thrown in prison, despite his innocence, had broken him. "I can only pray he calms down before it's too late," Tsunade thought, wishing desperately for a chance to explain and apologize. But before she could take another step, the ground split beneath her. Hands shot up, seizing her ankles. She tried to react, but her drunken haze and spiraling thoughts left her slow. Symbols crawled across her body, black markings binding her in place. A cursed seal. Her mouth refused to move. Her limbs froze. Panic flared. A Tanto blade glinted in the pale light as it swung toward her neck. But Tsunade roared, golden chakra erupting around her. Her monstrous strength shattered the seal's grip. With the blade inches from her throat, she caught it in her teeth and crushed the steel as though it were brittle wood. Her fist followed, slamming into her attacker's chest with such force their body erupted in a crimson mist. She stared down at the shattered mask. "ANBU, one of her own. My own guards trying to kill me." "In the middle of Konoha," she growled. A calm, aged voice cut through the silence. "ANBU don't belong to you, they serve the village." From the shadows, a wrinkled man emerged, half his face hidden by bandages, his arm bound in a cast, leaning on a cane. "Danzo Shimura." Tsunade narrowed her eyes. "Jirya warned me about you, but I didn't think you'd go this far. Have you lost your damn mind?" "My mind is sharp as ever," Danzo replied, unwrapping his arm. "You call this loyalty?" "Trying to assassinate your Hokage," she spat. "I serve Konoha. Everything I've done for the village," he said coolly. Her voice rose to a furious scream. "Where were you when pain invaded?" "My summons were everywhere healing people. I nearly killed myself from exhaustion and thousands died. And you hid like a coward in some bunker. Was that for the village too? How does killing me now help Konoha when the Akatsuki threatens the whole world?" For a moment, Danzo's face twitched. Her words hit where it hurt most, his lifelong regret at being passed over for Hokage. "It's because of what's coming that you need to be removed," he snapped. "You let the Uchiha slip away, failed to retrieve the Three Tails, and now you've pushed away the Ninetales Jinchuriki. You're unfit too." Danzo's sentence was cut short as the top half of his body erupted in a violent spray of blood and flesh. Tsunade's monstrous punch sending shockwaves that tore through several rows of trees behind him. "I knew better than to lower my guard against you," Danzo's voice called out from the side, shocking Tsunade, who had been certain she had killed him. "How? An illusion?" She thought in disbelief, but she immediately dismissed the possibility. No one could trap her in genjutsu without her noticing. Her control over chakra was too precise, any abnormal flow would have been obvious. "Fu, keep your distance and strike when the chance comes. Torun, one touch is all you need. Akimichi, engage her up close. The rest of you, keep her pressured with ninjutsu and shuriken from mid-range." Danzo relayed his orders silently through hand signals, and the Black Ops shinobi moved without hesitation. "Age must really be catching up with you if you thought this pathetic force was enough to kill me." Danzo hadn't underestimated her before the attack. He had gathered nearly all his available route operatives, over 30, each at Tokubetsu Jonin or higher, solely to eliminate her. But the scene unfolding before him was nightmarish. In under 5 minutes, the Slug Princess had slaughtered half of his men with overwhelming brutality. Even those brainwashed into blind loyalty showed cracks of fear. Worse yet, 6 of the 10 Sharingan embedded in Danzo's arm had already gone dark. He had been forced to use Izanagi 6 times in less than 5 minutes. He had always kept careful records of Orochimaru and Jiraiya's strength, but Tsunade was the enigma among the Sannin, fading into obscurity after the Third Shinobi War. She had been written off as a drunk gambler, but Danzo now realized the truth. Her power rivaled her teammates, perhaps even surpassed them. "No, she's even more dangerous," he admitted as he saw the wounds in her leg, created by his vacuum bullets, close instantly. Her clothes were shredded from countless blades, flames, and blasts, yet her body was unscathed, like an immortal monster. And every strike of her fist turned bodies to pulp and cratered the earth. Danzo's voice thundered. Now, a shadow stretched under the moonlight, binding Tsunade in place. Simultaneously, Danzo's wood release surged from the ground, wrapping her in thick roots and vines. But her raw strength was beyond comprehension. The Nara shinobi holding her trembled as sweat poured down his face, and the Mokutan bindings groaned under her resistance. Just as she was about to shatter free, a Yamanaka operative yelled. Mind-body switch technique. Tsunade's body went slack for a moment, but the Yamanaka quickly shouted. She's resisting. I can't hold her completely. You've got 20 seconds at best. Danzo formed a massive Fuma shuriken, coating it with wind chakra before hurling it at her. A storm of kunai and shuriken followed from his root, none daring to fight her head-on. But the Yamanaka's estimate had been far too generous. In less than 5 seconds, Tsunade broke free, roaring as she shattered the Shadow Bind and Mokutan alike. She clapped her hands with such force that the shockwave burst outward like a hurricane, blasting away every projectile, including Danzo's enhanced shuriken. It was then, in that split second, that a figure appeared behind her like a phantom, lightning illuminating the darkness. Reikiri, Tsunade's eyes widened as a lightning-charged hand pierced through her chest. Kei Kakashi, why? She gasped before collapsing to her knees. Seizing the moment, 2 root shinobi flickered beside her, their blades flashing in the moonlight as they simultaneously took her head. Even in victory, Danzo felt no triumph. Her final shockwave had killed another half-dozen of his men. In less than 10 minutes, a half-drunk Tsunade had devastated his entire organization and drained 6 Sharingan lives. Too close? Without Kakashi's allegiance, none of us would have survived. Even in death, Tsunade never understood why Kakashi betrayed her to side with Danzo. Watching his remaining men erase traces of the battle, Danzo ordered, "No time. The ANBU won't be stalled for long. We've achieved our goal. Leave everything, scatter." The rain came down again as he pulled up the hood of his gray cloak, walking the main street of the village. The constant downpour didn't seem to bother the citizens. Couples shared umbrellas while window shopping, children splashed happily in puddles, and elders smoked pipes under the eaves as they exchanged gossip over cups of sake. This doesn't even feel like a hidden village, he thought, comparing it to Konoha. Even Konoha, lax by shinobi standards, still had Chunin patrols and ANBU presence. AIM, however, seemed more like a civilian town. I miss home, despite everything he couldn't deny it. He missed Konoha. He missed his friends, Ikaraku's ramen, Team 7's training field, his tiny apartment, and above all, he missed Bachan and Sakura. But whenever he remembered them, his homesickness was drowned by anger. Damn it! Even 2 weeks after Konan freed him from Hozuki Castle, Naruto couldn't shake the fury burning inside. With no outlet for his frustration, no missions to distract him, the bitterness only grew. He had never felt this way before. His whole life, he'd been cheerful, quick to forgive, eager to smile. Why couldn't he return to that? Why did every memory of Konoha now ignite his rage? Why were the happy moments fading, replaced by the cruel ones he had buried? The beatings from academy bullies, the villagers' hateful whispers, Uruka using him as a bad example in class, Kakashi favoring Sasuke while dumping him with a useless Jonin, the village ignoring his victory over Gaara and Shukaku, denying him the Chunin rank he earned, and more came flooding back. Jirya tossing him off cliffs, or driving him to madness just to draw out the Ninetales' power, ditching him to chase women, Sakura's endless punches for the smallest annoyance, Kiba's constant mockery of his dream, even Akamaru pissing on his face while he slept. It was as if rosy glasses had been ripped from his eyes. He could no longer ignore the ugliness of his past. A part of himself he had buried was clawing its way to the surface. The more he thought, the angrier he became. His eyes bled red, his whisker marks darkened, and Kyuubi's chakra seeped into his veins. I can't keep living like this, Naruto thought, quickening his pace. If I don't find something to focus on, I'll lose my mind. And madness was the last thing he, or Konan, needed. He knew AIM was in a fragile state, and he refused to burden Konan more than he already had. The Land of Rain had no daimyo to provide support for its hidden village, and the nation itself stood cut off from the rest of the world. No envoys, no traders, not even wandering merchants were allowed to cross Aim's borders. During the era when Nagato Uzumaki ruled, Aimgakure enjoyed a rare age of growth, stability, and prosperity, unlike anything in its troubled past. But those days had passed. Nagato was gone, and Konan had left the Akatsuki behind. With the village isolated, and the flow of resources once sustained by Akatsuki missions now severed, Aim's economy began to crumble. It's been nearly 3 months since Iro-Sennin died, yet the scars from his battle with Nagato remain. Nothing's been repaired. That thought gave Naruto an idea. Maybe I could help Konan restore what's been broken. It felt like the least he could do, a way to repay her for the compassion she'd shown him. After everything, when even my friends and my home turned their backs, she was the only one who stood by me. When the world abandoned him, Konan had reached out. Helping her now felt right. With new purpose burning in his chest, Naruto's expression brightened, and he dashed toward the tallest tower at the heart of Aim's forest of steel and glass. As the looming spire known as Pain's Tower came into view, his speed slowed to a walk. Back in Konoha, he had barged into the Hokage's office countless times without knocking, but that was different. He was at home there. Here in Aim, he instinctively held himself back. "I need to see Konan. Could you let her know I'm here?" Naruto asked the 2 shinobi guarding the doors. "One moment," one replied with courtesy. After knocking twice, the guard stepped inside to announce his arrival. Naruto still wasn't used to it, the respectful way the villagers treated him. Here, very few even knew his true identity. All they knew was that he carried Konan's trust, and that alone earned him reverence. It showed just how deeply the people admired Konan and Pain. "Tenshi-sama has agreed. Please come with me," the guard said, returning and opening the door for him. Despite Aim's futuristic skyline of towering metal and sprawling pipes, Konan's office was simple, almost mirroring the Hokage's room in Konoha. A rounded gray desk with a black leather chair stood to one side, while massive windows offered a sweeping view of the city below. "Hello, Naruto," Konan greeted, setting aside the paper in her hands. She motioned for her shinobi to leave. "Did something happen? Do you need something?" "I was wondering, is there anything I can do to help?" Naruto asked earnestly. Konan leaned forward, fingers interlaced, her expression thoughtful. "What's brought this on? Has someone troubled you?" "No, nothing like that," Naruto said quickly. "Everyone here treats me so kindly it feels strange. I just want to be useful." When Konan didn't immediately reply, he added with a grin, "I saw the ruins where Iro-Sennin and Nagato fought. If you had to hire workers, you'd need dozens, and it would take weeks to clear. But me, I've got shadow clones, I could handle it fast." Konan rose from her chair, stepping to the window. "I appreciate the thought, Naruto, but it's already late. Starting today, there will be an 8 o'clock curfew. Better to wait until morning." "Curfew? You mean no one's allowed outside after that time?" As she clasped her hands behind her back, Naruto noticed for the first time how different she looked without the Akatsuki cloak. He quickly averted his eyes and turned his gaze to the cityscape. "There's no reason to hide it from you," Konan admitted. "Aim is struggling. Ever since we overthrew Hanzo 6 years ago, Nagato shut the nation off from the world. That worked while Akatsuki thrived as mercenaries. But now, with Nagato gone, and the group dissolved, the money's gone too." Her words carried no shame, only fact. "Before we hunted Jinchuriki, Akatsuki took on every kind of mission. Villages across the world hired us, Tsuchikage, Keizukage, even Konoha. That work kept Aim alive, but that income is gone." Naruto stayed silent, listening as she went on. "Aim can provide for itself in many ways: food, clothing, daily needs. Before war shattered our land, the Rain country exported rice, fish, preserved goods. But some resources we cannot produce. Take electricity. We've been relying on coal reserves left from Hanzo's time. Those supplies are running low, and even if we had the money to buy more, we have no allies willing to trade. Who would deal with us now, knowing Akatsuki's history here?" Naruto frowned. He'd never thought about such things, about coal, trade, or the struggles of a leader. "Couldn't you trade food instead of money? The land of wind is all desert, they can't grow crops. Maybe they'd buy Aim's rice and fish," Naruto suggested. Konan exhaled softly. "We haven't opened diplomatic talks in 6 years. And even if we tried, would anyone trust us after Akatsuki? Suna might not. but Naruto stepped forward, fire in his voice. I can help with that. Gaara's my friend, he's Kazekage now. If I ask him, he'll listen. Conan's expression didn't soften. The Wind Country has oil and natural gas, but no coal, and Gaara, he suffered at Akatsuki's hands. What makes you think he'd ever extend trust to us? Because Gaara's my friend, Naruto insisted, but his voice faltered as bitter memories resurfaced. Memories of betrayal, of being thrown into prison by the very people he thought he could trust. Even so, he forced a smile when Conan's concerned gaze met his. The next morning, are you sure about this? Konan asked, her voice calm but edged with warning. You know Konoha won't let their Jinchuriki go so easily. I have to try, Naruto answered with his usual grin, scratching the back of his head. Besides, I want to help you. Thank you, Naruto. For the first time since he'd come to AIM, Konan smiled. It was soft, almost fragile, a quiet light breaking through endless rain. Naruto froze, stunned by its warmth. You were there for me when no one else was, he said quietly. I'll do whatever it takes to return that kindness. Konan handed him a scroll. Take this to the Kazekage, it's my official letter, but don't reveal too much about AIM's condition, not even to your friend. I understand. Remember this. Losing a Jinchuriki shakes a village to its core. Konoha won't simply let you walk away. And while you say you trust the Kazekage, Suna and Konoha are allies. Be cautious, Naruto. Stay safe. Naruto almost protested that Gaara would never betray him, but the words died on his lips. If Gaara had to choose between his village and their friendship, Naruto wasn't sure what he would decide. Wars had erupted over far less, over diplomats, over misunderstandings. And the Ninetales was a prize far greater than any of that. In Konoha, bloodied bandages wrapped his arm and face, yet Shimura Danzo sat content in the Hokage's chair. His robes were stained with dirt and blood, but his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. At last, after years of scheming in the shadows, he sat in the seat of power. From this office, he gazed over the still-sleeping village, his heart filled with triumph. For as long as he could remember, this had been his dream. Now, it was reality. Time slipped by unnoticed as he basked in the satisfaction of finally achieving what he long desired. An hour had already passed before he realized it. The shadows of night began to fade, replaced by the gentle glow of dawn. It felt almost symbolic. His long march through darkness was finally over. From this moment forward, he would step into the light and lead the village into a new age. He would be the one to restore Konoha's greatness. Magnificent, he whispered, watching the first streaks of sunlight wash over the Hokage monument and spill into the village below. Magnificent indeed. The unexpected voice behind him sent a jolt through his body. Danzo snapped to his feet as if struck by lightning, spinning around stiffly before stammering out in disbelief. Impossible. I see you've made yourself comfortable in my seat. As the figure drew closer, Danzo's face drained of color. You were dead. Your heart was destroyed. I watched you beheaded, he shouted, tearing away the bandages from his right eye to reveal the Sharingan. ANBU, he roared, panic in his voice when he realized it wasn't an illusion. Your ANBU are already gone, Tsunade replied coldly, lifting her hand, still slick with fresh blood. For everything you've done, Danzo, you'll pay, I swear it. Smoke suddenly filled the office as glass shattered. Danzo hurled himself through the window, vanishing with a body flicker. You won't get away. Tsunade's furious voice followed him. If my name is Tsunade, I'll tear you limb from limb. Every last traitor from last night will die by my hands. The floor beneath her split apart like cracked glass as she launched herself with overwhelming force, leaving behind a sonic boom. Danzo barely finished his flicker movement when a crushing grip caught the back of his high-collared cloak. The air was knocked out of him as he was hurled like a ragdoll, crashing through trees until he slammed into the outskirts of the forest. Years of experience saved him from immediate defeat. Forcing composure, he formed hand signs, and a mass of wooden tendrils erupted from his body, wrapping around him like a cocoon. He smashed through tree after tree until the impact finally stopped. Gasping, he staggered out, only to double over and vomit from the strain. When he lifted his head, Tsunade was already there, a phantom in the mist. Her hand struck like a serpent. By the time he realized, his right eye was gone. He could only watch in horror as she crushed his stolen Mangekyo Sharingan into a bloody pulp. Gritting his teeth, Danzo didn't waste a second before vanishing again with another shunshin. I need distance. I need time, he thought frantically, hands flashing through seals. He slammed his palm onto the earth, and the ground erupted as roots and branches twisted upward, forming a colossal wooden figure. Though a poor imitation of Hashirama's wood giant, its towering form was enough to terrify most shinobi. The price was steep, chakra drained from him in torrents, but Danzo had no choice. Without buying time to free the seal on his arm, he couldn't use Izanagi. And without Izanagi, he had no chance against the raging slug princess. Stripping away the wrappings from his right arm, he revealed the golden braces that bound it. Desperately, he loosened one bolt, then another, when suddenly the giant shook violently. Tsunade had blasted through it, reducing its chest to splinters. "Damn it!" he snarled, struggling to undo the last bolt. But before he could, pain ripped through him. His entire right arm fell to the forest floor, severed clean at the shoulder. "I told you I'd end you," Tsunade growled, driving a brutal kick into his stomach. She deliberately held back, letting him crumple and cough in agony. "But death would be too easy. I promised I'd tear you apart piece by piece." Planting her foot on his chest, she wrenched his left arm free from its socket. His scream pierced the air. She prepared to take his leg next, but black ink began to leak from his torso. Her eyes narrowed. Not this time. Energy rippled around her hand, golden chakra flaring visibly as she drove her fist down with full force. The blow obliterated Danzo's body in an instant, leaving only a crater of gore and shattered earth. The shockwave flattened the surrounding forest for hundreds of feet. His suicide seal fizzled uselessly, consumed along with him. Unbothered by the carnage, Tsunade collapsed onto her back, chest heaving. The black seal markings on her body receded into the diamond mark on her forehead as she fought to catch her breath. It had been years since she unleashed this much power. Never had she been so close to death. "If Katsuyu hadn't pulled me to Shikatsu Forest last night, I'd be dead," she thought grimly. Morning patrols soon arrived, drawn by the devastation. Sensing their chakra signatures, Tsunade forced herself to stand. It wasn't over yet. "I don't know how many sided with Danzo, but I'll hunt every last one of them." Placing a hand over her chest, her eyes burned with fury. She could still feel the blade that had pierced her heart. She knew exactly who it belonged to. Hatake Kakashi would pay with his life. Meanwhile, in the land of wind, Naruto's journey dragged on. Though Aim and Suna shared a border, the hidden sand lay deep within the endless desert. 4 grueling days later, he finally stood before the towering sandstone walls. "Halt! State your name and purpose," a Chunin guard barked. 6 Suna shinobi eyed him warily, ready for battle. Even a year after Akatsuki's assault and Gaara's abduction, the village remained on edge. Naruto lowered his hood, revealing his face. "I'm Uzumaki Naruto. I've come to see Gaara." The guard's eyes widened. Uzumaki Naruto? Even beyond the leaf, his name carried weight. He had saved their Keizuki's life, and word of his triumph over Akatsuki's leader had spread across nations. In Suna, he was hailed as the hero of the leaf. "We need to confirm your identity," the guard said, forming a seal. "Kai!" Once satisfied it wasn't a disguise, they allowed him through. As Naruto walked deeper into Suna, he observed the village with fresh eyes. The style, the people, the rhythm of life, it was unlike anywhere else. Unlike Konoha's fan-shaped design or Aim's towering spires, Sunagakure spread in a perfect circle, with the Keizuki's tower at its heart and 8 walls dividing the village into equal parts. "It looks like Suna's bounced back since the attack," Naruto remarked as they passed a lively bazaar filled with shouting merchants and haggling customers. "Thanks to Keizuki-sama's alliance with Konoha, things have improved greatly," the escort replied. Soon Naruto reached the tower. After the guard left, he was ushered into Gaara's office. "Naruto," Gaara greeted warmly, rising from his desk. "I didn't expect you here, but it's good to see you." Naruto couldn't help but smile when Gaara welcomed him warmly. "It's good to see you too, Gaara," he replied, shaking his hand firmly. "How have you been, and how are Temari and Kankuro?" "Temari is in Konoha on diplomatic duty, and Kankuro is away on a mission," Gaara answered. Though they had only met a handful of times, there was an unspoken bond between them. 2 Jinchuriki who once stood as enemies but grew into allies. To Gaara, Naruto wasn't just another ninja. He was the one who had saved him. After offering Naruto a seat, Gaara spoke directly, as was his nature. I've heard what happened between you and Konoha. To think you of all people, the man who would give his life for his village, would walk away from it all. I never thought I'd see the day Uzumaki Naruto became a missing nin. That's why their betrayal cut deeper than any wound I've ever felt, Naruto replied, his tone sharp. Gaara leaned forward, fingers interlocked, his expression contemplative. From what I've gathered, no one truly believed you were guilty. The entire affair was staged to draw Kusagakure into revealing its hand. But every time the subject of Hozuki Castle came up, Naruto's chest tightened with anger. He clenched his fists, struggling to keep calm. Hard to believe, isn't it? And even if that were true, why keep me in the dark? Did they really trust me so little? After everything I did for them, after all the times I put my life on the line. He cut himself off, realizing his voice was rising. A deep sigh escaped him as he looked away. Forget it. The bond I had with Konoha is gone. That chapter of my life is closed. I didn't come here to rehash the past. Everyone who knew Naruto understood him as someone who wore his emotions openly, laughing when he was happy, shouting when he was angry, fighting with his fists when words weren't enough. Yet here he was, reigning in his emotions. Gaara noticed. The silence that followed carried weight. I'm here as a representative of the Land of Rain, Naruto finally said, pulling a scroll from his pouch. The Land of Rain. Gaara's eyes widened. Don't tell me, Naruto, you've sided with Akatsuki. I understand your hatred for Konoha, but is vengeance really worth turning to them? They're still hunting Jinchuriki. The Akatsuki no longer control the rain, Naruto explained. Konan, Pain's former partner, broke ties with them. She's the one who freed me from Hozuki Castle. When no one else stood by me, she did. Gaara rose, walking to the window, his hands clasped behind his back as he looked out over the village. At least look at the scroll, Naruto urged. You're forcing me into a corner, Naruto, Gaara admitted. Just last week I received word from Konoha. They're sending squads to track you down. And now you come to me allied with a former Akatsuki. Worse, the 5 great nations are preparing for a cage summit in only a few days. They can send as many squads as they want. I won't return, Naruto said firmly. But why the summit? Why else? Because of the Akatsuki, Gaara answered, turning to meet Naruto's gaze. The Raikage's brother was targeted, and Uchiha Sasuke was the one who took him. Sasuke, Naruto's voice betrayed nothing, his expression unreadable. Yes. He joined their ranks. Nearly all the Jinchuriki have already been hunted, except for you. With his brother gone, the Raikage is calling for war. He wants the Akatsuki destroyed, and Sasuke will be the first target. The Naruto Gaara remembered would have reacted loudly, maybe even stormed off to confront the Raikage in person. But the man before him remained calm, almost detached. You're quieter than I expected, Gaara noted. We all face the consequences of our choices, Naruto replied at last. You're not worried about him. I thought he was your closest friend. I spent years chasing him, trying to drag him back to the village, Naruto said, shoulders slumping. But I'm no longer part of Konoha. What's the point of chasing him now? As for being friends, I don't know anymore. What do you mean? I believed I had countless friends. I thought the entire village was my family, Naruto said bitterly. But look at how that turned out. Sasuke drove a lightning blade into my chest, and the same village I bled for threw me into a cell. A man can only take so much. With friends and family like that, who needs enemies? Naruto rose from his chair, reaching for the scroll. Leaving already? Gaara asked, surprised. I knew you wouldn't entertain talks about Aimgakure. Konan warned me as much. You died at the Akatsuki's hands once, and as Kazekage, you can't put Sooner at risk for me. I get it. Stay safe, Kazekage-sama. He gave a short bow and turned to leave. Gaara half raised his hand to stop him but let it fall. Naruto had spoken the truth. As much as he wanted to call him a friend, Gaara was the Kazekage first. He couldn't endanger Suna by supporting a fugitive or aligning with the village once tied to the Akatsuki. Night fell. After hours of trekking through endless sand, Naruto finally made camp beside a stone cairn that marked the path. The desert air bit cold, so he lit a fire and warmed himself as he chewed on rations. His mind wandered back to words spoken long ago, Itachi's words. A shinobi must make hard choices. What you speak of are dreams, nothing more. Naruto stared into the fire. Sasuke joined Akatsuki, Does that mean one day he'll come for me too? Teeth gritted, he thought back to Jiraiya's lecture after the failed mission to bring Sasuke home. Power alone won't guide you. Learn to see clearly, make sound judgments. If you're going to live as a ninja, gain wisdom. The world has no mercy for fools. Back then, he was too stubborn to listen, too sure that he could bring Sasuke back by sheer will. He had grown strong, one of the mightiest shinobi alive, but his heart hadn't matured at the same pace. He clung to blind optimism, to Jiraiya's dream that someday peace could be achieved if people just understood one another. That dream shattered in Hozuki Castle. The ninja world revealed its true face, ruled not by ideals, but by strength, self-interest, and hatred. And yet, when the world turned its back, Konan kept her promise. Yahiko's dream, Nagato's dream, they live on in you now. Nagato entrusted his faith to you, so will I. Together, we of the Rain will pursue those dreams by your side. Despite Aim's fragile state, despite the danger of sheltering him, she gave him refuge. But I'm not who I was, Naruto whispered to the fire. Peace, I don't have an answer, I never did. When he faced Nagato, he had nothing, only forgiveness and hope. That was enough then. But now, stripped of his optimism, Naruto knew their dream of peace was never more than an illusion. He felt the weight of betrayal, not just from Konoha, but from himself. He had promised to carry their dream forward, yet he no longer believed in it. I'm sorry, I'm not the same person you once knew. I can't give you the kind of peace you expected from me. As the firelight flickered in his eyes, Naruto clenched his fists and swore silently. Konan and her people, I will protect them at any cost. Whoever dares threaten them, whether it's Sasuke, Akatsuki, or even Konoha, I'll crush them. He no longer believed in the dream of world peace. What he did believe in was creating stability and hope for the Rain. The morning after Naruto's diplomatic attempt in Tsunade, a hawk swooped into the Hawkage's office, dropping a scroll upon Tsunade's desk. A message from Suna, she murmured, raising an eyebrow as she noticed the Kage's mark. Her eyes scanned the parchment. With each line she read, her expression grew darker until she suddenly snapped. Shizune, her assistant, appeared in an instant. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Gather Kakashi, Yamato, Sakura, Sai, and Team Guy immediately. Tell them to report here. Hokage Dono, on this day, September 27th, Uzumaki Naruto arrived in Tsunade as an envoy of Aimgakure. For political reasons, I could not accept his request, and he departed soon after. From our exchange, I confirmed that he now resides within the Rain. As both an ally of Konoha and as someone who still considers Naruto a friend, I must warn you, tread carefully. He is no longer the same person we once knew. With respect, Gaara, 5th Kazekage. When Tsunade finished reading, the room fell into a suffocating silence. I've had Anbu and Chunin searching endlessly, yet we found no trace of him. Who would have guessed he'd vanish into the Rain of all places? Aimgakure, Sakura gasped. Isn't that Akatsuki's birthplace? Why would Naruto go there? That, Tsunade said sharply, is what you'll find out. Her presence demanded attention, her tone colder than before. Ever since Danzo's failed coup, a steel edge had settled in her demeanor. The days of her lazy facade were over. Now she carried the aura of a true war leader. Neji, she commanded, determine if Naruto is under genjutsu influence. Yes, Hokage-sama, he bowed. Sakura, why yes, she stiffened, standing tall. Naruto has always cared for you, you must try to bring him home peacefully. Understood. Kakashi Guy Lee, if she fails, you three are to subdue him and bring him back by force. Yes, Hokage-sama, they answered in unison. Yamato, support them. If Naruto calls on the Ninetales' power, you have clearance to unleash your strongest wood style to contain him. Understood. Tenten shifted uneasily. And what about me? Tsunade's gaze fell on her, making her flinch. Your Fuinjutsu has grown, hasn't it? If restraint is necessary, your role will be to seal his chakra. I won't let you down. Tenten's voice rang with excitement. To be recognized by Tsunade herself filled her with pride. This mission is S-rank, Tsunade declared. The younger shinobi exchanged nervous glances. You leave at dawn, prepare yourselves. Hi, they chorused. Kakashi, remain. The others filed out, leaving him alone with the Hokage. Tsunade stepped around her desk, her presence weighing on him like a storm. Despite all his years in ANBU, Kakashi couldn't help but tense. I let you live because Hayashi swore you were under genjutsu when you attacked me. I am grateful, Kakashi said with a bow. But don't mistake that for trust. Betray me again, illusion or not, and I'll end you myself. Am I clear, Crystal? This mission will be your chance to redeem yourself. Don't fail me again. I won't, Hokage-sama. Good, I leave for the 5-cage summit at noon. By the time I return, I expect progress. This isn't just about Naruto. With the 8 tails already taken, he is the last Jinchuriki left. If Akatsuki seizes him, they complete their plan. Protecting Naruto means protecting the entire world. Concrete towers, endless pipes, black clouds, and perpetual rain, Aimgakure was no paradise. Yet to Konan it was home. From atop a high spire, she watched with quiet fondness as countless workers toiled below, though in truth, they were all Naruto's shadow clones. Despite his exhaustion from the desert journey, he had thrown himself into repairing the devastation left by Nagato's battle with Jiraiya. Naruto couldn't meet her eyes, too ashamed at failing to secure Suna's alliance. Helping rebuild was the only way he felt useful. Maybe the land of waves, they'd help me. But their resources are fishing, nothing rain needs, he thought, shattering a collapsed wall with a giant Rasengan. The land of snow, too small. The land of demons, too far, and I know little about it. Deep in thought, he didn't notice Konan watching from above, nor did he sense the arrival of another figure. So this is where the Ninetales vessel vanished to, a dark voice echoed. I heard of his betrayal, but to find him here of all places, how fortunate. 2 birds, 1 stone. Konan turned, her eyes narrowing. The black cloak patterned with red clouds, the spiraled orange mask Tobi. To her, to Nagato, he was Uchiha Madara. What do you want? She asked flatly. Where have you hidden Nagato's body? You won't find him here. Her form dissolved into paper butterflies, scattering into the storm. But Tobi's Sharingan tracked her. In an instant, he warped space and reappeared before her reformed body. You fled far, yet I expected more. I thought you'd fight alongside Naruto against me. After all, defeating pain is no small feat. Konan's expression hardened. I knew this day would come. I've been waiting for you to stop you myself. With or without Naruto, I'll take you down. Winds howled, waves surged around them, the vast lake of Aim stretching like an inland sea. You were once a comrade, Tobi said coldly. But traitors are not forgiven. Tell me, why betray me now? You and Nagato both once believed in my Moon's Eye plan. Losing to Naruto could be excused, but for Nagato to sacrifice his life to revive Konoha, and for you to shelter that boy here. Tell me, do you really think Uzumaki Naruto is worth all that? He is the light, Konan whispered firmly. That's why we can still hold on to the flower of hope. Light, even after abandoning his home, after what the leaf did to him, you still think he's the same. Tobi's voice was sharp, laced with contempt. No matter. Once I've captured you, you'll tell me everything. That power, the Rinnegan, it was never truly Nagato's. I entrusted it to him when he was a child. Now I'll reclaim what was mine from the start. The instant those words left his mouth, massive paper wings unfolded from Konan's back. She shot into the stormy sky like a hunting hawk, her figure scattering into a storm of razor-sharp sheets. Hiding her body amidst countless paper blades, she dove with unwavering resolve. A swarm of attacks to force me to appear. She's planning something, Tobi thought, a grim smirk hidden beneath his mask. Fine, I'll play along. Let her come, I'll crush her little scheme. The paper blades sliced through his intangible form until, at the perfect moment, he materialized, his hand locking tightly around her throat. Got you, he said, triumph flashing in his single eye as he activated Kamui, dragging her toward his void dimension. But by the time he realized it, her trap had already sprung. Explosive seals lit up across her body. The air itself convulsed as the bombs ignited in unison, swallowing them both in a violent chain of blasts. I'll drag you to the afterlife if I must, Konan thought, ready to give her life for one final strike. Man, this rain just won't quit. Naruto groaned inwardly, slogging through the downpour while his shadow clones hauled rubble and broken stone. Even for him, the work was brutal. The constant rain soaked him to the bone, blurred his vision, and made the weight of fatigue twice as heavy. When he finally dispelled his clones, all of their exhaustion slammed into him at once. His body wobbled under the strain as he stumbled toward the tower, desperate for shelter. Curled in a corner, drenched and shivering, the steady rhythm of the rain nearly lulled him to sleep. But then, boom. A thunderous explosion shattered the quiet, jerking him to his feet. "What the hell was that?" he gasped, bolting up the tower stairs and bursting onto the rooftop for a view of the city. Through the haze of rain, nothing was clear. But then came another blast, and another. A relentless chain of detonations, their echoes merging into one deafening roar. "The lake, it's coming from the lake," Naruto's pulse quickened. Without a second thought, he vaulted off the tower and sprinted, pushing his legs harder than ever. Gaara's warning echoed in his head. "Konoha's started sending squads after you." "Damn it," he hissed. His chest tightened as he ran faster. "Did they come after AIM because of me? If Konan or this village suffers because of me, I'll never forgive myself." But when he burst through the looming towers and saw the lake, his heart froze. The vast waters had split apart, replaced not by ripples but by billions of glowing tags. The entire lake, every drop was paper bombs. "My God!" Naruto's voice cracked, the words stolen by the storm. The sight was apocalyptic, a living nightmare. Just imagining falling into that endless fissure of explosives made his blood run cold. The detonations seemed endless. Minutes stretched like hours as the world shook, fire and thunder rolling through AIM. Konan dropped to her knees atop the water, her chest heaving. "My sacred paper emissary is spent. I didn't expect it to drain me this much." "At least, Madara is still alive," Tobi's voice cut her short. He stepped from the shadows, driving a black rod clean through her back. The sickening sound of tearing flesh echoed across the water. Her eyes widened. For a heartbeat, the shock smothered the pain. "Impossible, I ran every outcome. This should have worked." He wrenched the rod free and kicked her aside, his tone venomous. "Izanagi, don't underestimate the eyes of an Uchiha, girl. You miscalculated, just as you did when you chose to side with Naruto. In the end, you'll join Nagato in death, both of you fools tricked by his hollow words." But even as he spat his triumph, his own body trembled. His missing arm, his injuries, and the sacrifice of his Sharingan for Izanagi left him ragged. Konan had nearly ended him, and he knew it. "There is no peace," he hissed. "No hope." Nagato clung to Naruto's dream out of weakness, nothing more. Konan staggered, blood soaking her robes, but lifted her arms once more. A massive paper chakram formed above her, whirling with killing intent. "Just as I believed in Nagato, I believe in Naruto too," she cried, launching the weapon. "We never trusted your twisted dream. You are darkness, and we were never yours to control." Her body fragmented into a storm of paper shuriken, overwhelming even his Sharingan's sight. Tobi cursed under his breath, forced to block and evade as he closed in. But she was drained, her body failing. When he finally reached her, she couldn't vanish into paper again. "You call me darkness?" Tobi's grip crushed her throat. "Then let me smother your light." Rage burned in his chest. He had never imagined Konan, of all people, would push him this far. "Konan!" A desperate scream tore through the rain. A blur of orange and blonde streaked in. Naruto's kick slammed into Tobi's mask, sending him skidding across the water. "Konan, stay with me. Please answer me." Naruto clutched her before she sank, panic clear in his eyes. Then he turned, fury boiling over. "You bastard! What did you do to her?" Even with half his face hidden, Naruto could see the fury twisting Tobi's eye. "This was never supposed to happen," Tobi muttered to himself. He hadn't expected to face Naruto like this, broken, bleeding down an arm and an eye. He was far from prepared. "You've won this time," he spat bitterly. "But don't think you're safe. You can't run, you can't hide. I'll return and I'll take back what belongs to me." And with a swirling distortion, his body vanished. Hours later, Naruto sat in the hospital waiting room, hands clenched tight, his leg bouncing restlessly. Inside, Konan was in surgery. The wound hadn't pierced her spine or lungs, but the rod had shattered a rib and torn through her stomach. The thought of losing her made his chest ache. It wasn't Konoha after all. It was Akatsuki. But why target her? Was it just because she left them? No, his words. "I'll take what is mine." What did he mean? The door creaked open. A middle-aged medic stepped out, removing his gloves. Naruto shot up instantly. "How is she? Did it work? Is she okay?" The man gave a small smile at Naruto's frantic worry. "She's stable. The operation went well. With time, she'll recover fully." Naruto exhaled sharply, relief washing over him like a wave. "Thank God. Can I see her?" "You can," the doctor said, "though she's still unconscious from the anesthetic." He paused, then added, Young man, thank you. Lady Konan means more to this land than most realize. After Pain-sama's death, she is all that shields aim from the great nations around us. Right now, she's irreplaceable. Naruto blinked, surprised the medic knew of Pain's passing. Konan had guarded that truth closely. He must be one of AIM's elite shinobi, Naruto thought. When my own village and the people I called friends abandoned me, it was Konan who reached out her hand. Saving her life is the least I can do, Naruto said firmly. And before Nagato passed, I swore to him that I'd protect Aimgakure and carry his dream of peace forward. Konan and this village, they're all I have left now. The doctor gave him a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Konoha's leadership must have gone insane to cast aside someone like you. But if they were foolish enough to lose you, then it's our fortune you're here. We're honored to have you with us, Uzumaki Naruto. Even before opening her eyes, Konan knew she was in a hospital. The sharp smell of antiseptic and the soft beeping of monitors gave it away. Her body felt so weak that lifting her eyelids was an effort. She blinked several times until her vision cleared, and her gaze drifted to the dull ache in her arm. An IV line was connected, slowly feeding her blood to replace what she'd lost. As her senses settled, she realized she wasn't alone. When her amber eyes landed on the boy slumped at the edge of her bed, head resting against the mattress in deep sleep, her lips softened into a small, gentle smile. She knew without doubt that if Naruto hadn't arrived when he did, she wouldn't have survived. Her ambush on Madara had been near perfect, but she hadn't accounted for the absurd ability of the Sharingan to twist reality itself. All those countless paper bombs, wasted. Aimgakure's fragile finances had been bleeding dry for months. Acquiring over 600 billion explosive tags had drained nearly everything she and Nagato had built over the years. Every coin, every scrap of Akatsuki funds, they had gambled it all. And yet, even that wasn't enough. Madara still slipped away. She closed her eyes briefly, forcing the bitterness from her thoughts. At least I survived. And it's thanks to him. Her hand rose weakly, brushing through Naruto's messy blonde hair. Naruto, though exhausted after summoning hundreds of clones to work in the rain and then staying at her side for hours, hadn't fallen into deep sleep. The moment her fingers touched his head, he stirred, but didn't open his eyes. Her touch was so soft, so unfamiliar that he wished she would never stop. No one had ever treated him with such tenderness. Konan, still pale and lightheaded, drifted back to sleep soon after. Naruto didn't remove her hand. Instead, he laid his own gently over hers, keeping it there. Relieved that she was alive and recovering, Naruto finally let himself rest, his head still beside her on the bed. Despite the awkward position, his body surrendered, and he drifted into a deep, unbroken sleep. When Naruto opened his eyes the next morning, he wasn't in Konan's hospital room. Instead, he was back in the modest quarters he'd been given in AIM. After washing up and changing into fresh clothes, he headed to the tower's canteen for breakfast. If there was one thing the Rain Country had in abundance, it was food. Rice, tomatoes, fish, and all manner of creatures filled the kitchens. Though he usually avoided the odd dishes involving reptiles, he still managed a full, satisfying meal. As he finished, a masked shinobi approached, AIM's version of ANBU Naruto guessed. Lady Konan requests your presence in her office immediately, the man said. Understood, Naruto replied, rising from his seat. Should you really be out of bed so soon? Were Naruto's first words when he entered Konan's office. Ah, Naruto, you came, she greeted softly. I won't pretend I'm fully healed, but there are things we must discuss, matters far too important to ignore. Seeing her brace herself against the desk to stand, Naruto quickly rushed to her side, steadying her. You shouldn't push yourself, he said with concern. I'll manage, Konan replied with a faint smile at his expression. Then let me carry you. Walking so much, using chakra, it'll only make things worse, Naruto insisted, crouching in front of her so she could climb onto his back. Konan wasn't one to hesitate or act shy. She leaned against him, wrapping her arms around his neck and her legs around his waist. Once he stood, she rested her chin lightly on his shoulder, exhaling in quiet relief. Thank you, Naruto. Her voice so close to his ear, the warmth of her body pressed against his back, it made him flush. Goosebumps prickled his skin. You're welcome, he muttered, clearing his throat nervously and hoping she didn't notice how flustered he was. Where to? I'll guide you, just follow my lead. He nodded, supporting her legs with his hands as he walked. Turn right here, now take the elevator, basement level. After a few minutes of silence, Naruto finally asked, How's your wound? Am I moving too quickly? Does it hurt? It's not fully healed, but it's stable. My paper techniques help seal and support injuries. It makes recovery faster. That's good, he said, relieved. Another moment passed before he asked, Why did that Akatsuki come after you yesterday? He was after something that belonged to Nagato, Konan answered. We're going to retrieve it now. Whoa, this place is incredible, Naruto whispered when they reached their destination. The hall was vast, its dome ceiling upheld by thick marble pillars. The floor shimmered with orange and violet patterns, resembling the concentric rings of the Rinnegan. A bed of white paper roses stretched across the room, while angelic carvings adorned the far wall. Upon that bed of roses lay two preserved bodies, hands folded across their chests, Yahiko and Nagato. You can set me down here, Konan said quietly. Naruto lowered her gently, supporting her arm as she led him forward until they stood before Nagato. After a long silence, she finally spoke. The masked man came to steal Nagato's Rinnegan, but it isn't his to take. The Rinnegan belongs to Nagato, it's Aimgakure's treasure. I won't let it fall into his hands. Who is he? I saw he had a Sharingan, but aside from Sasuke, no Uchiha should be alive. Did he steal it? Naruto asked. He calls himself Uchiha Madara. Naruto's eyes widened. Even he had heard that name. Madara, but didn't he die fighting the first Hokage ages ago? I don't know if he's truly Madara, but he has the Sharingan. And he's dangerous. Nagato and I learned much. He was the one behind the Ninetales attack on Konoha the night you were born. He orchestrated the bloodline purges in Kirigakure, even controlled the Mizukage with Genjutsu. Naruto's mind reeled. His father's words from the sealed chakra memory echoed back, the masked man with one eye. If he's that dangerous, shouldn't we destroy the Rinnegan? We can't risk him getting it. Nagato was the strongest shinobi I've ever seen. The Rinnegan's power is too great for someone like that. Konan bit her lip. Logically, he was right. Without the Rinnegan, the masked man's plans would collapse. He couldn't control the tailed beasts or the demonic statue. But still, I can't. The Rinnegan is all I have left of Nagato. Her voice trembled. Nagato and Yahiko had been her only family in a world consumed by war. After Yahiko's death, Nagato became everything to her. She couldn't bear to destroy the last piece of him. Naruto fell silent. He wondered what he would do in her place, but he couldn't find an answer. I can't let Madara take it, but I can't destroy it either, Konan whispered, turning toward him. She clasped his hands, her amber eyes steady on his. That's why I want you to have it, Naruto. His breath caught. Konan, I don't know if I can. You carry Yahiko's and Nagato's dreams now. You are their legacy. Please, Naruto, take Nagato's Rinnegan. Her plea cut deep, her gaze piercing straight into his soul. Konan, I don't know if I can do this, Naruto admitted, his voice trembling under the weight of her request. You're the one carrying Yahiko and Nagato's hopes. Their will lives on through you. I want you to take Nagato's Rinnegan, Konan said, her gaze unwavering, piercing into his very core. Naruto's fingers tightened around her hands without him even realizing it. His eyes dropped, unable to meet hers. But I'm not who I used to be anymore. I don't know if I'm worthy. His voice cracked and trailed off into silence. Konan, I let you both down. Nagato trusted me. I swore I'd carry Jiraiya-sensei's dream forward, but I don't believe in that dream anymore. Even back then, I never had the right answer to Nagato's questions. All I had was blind faith that things would somehow get better. But Konoha took that from me. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. His words dissolved into sobs he could no longer hold back, hot tears streaming down his face despite his resistance. Konan didn't speak. Instead, she let go of his hands and pulled him into her arms, guiding his head onto her shoulder. That quiet act of comfort broke what little strength he had left. All his years of restraint, all the frustration, anger, and sorrow locked inside him, poured out at once. For the first time in his life, Naruto wept openly in front of another. No mask of laughter, no forced smile. Just raw pain. He cried for what felt like forever until his body was finally too tired to shed another tear. Through it all, Konan said nothing, simply holding him and letting him lean on her. When he finally pulled away, shame burned in his cheeks. He couldn't even bring himself to look at her. "There's no weakness in crying," Conan whispered, reading him easily. "We've all cried before. I know what it's like, to be abandoned, to grow up with nothing, to fight to survive. You've carried a burden no one else could bear. You didn't cry because you're weak, Naruto. You cried because you've been strong for far too long." Her words nearly broke him again. "I know you'll endure this too. I believe in you," she said, lifting his chin gently so their eyes met. "Nagato trusted you, I trust you. If you can't believe in yourself right now, then believe in us. Believe in me, I will never leave your side." His lips quivered. It felt like she could see straight through him, understanding the thoughts he couldn't say out loud. "You carry Yahiko and Nagato's vision for peace. I told you in Konoha before, I'll say it again. Even if the whole world turns against you, I and Aimgakure will stand with you." Her conviction left him speechless. "Peace for the world? I don't have an answer for that. Maybe I never did," Naruto admitted after a pause. "But right now, before I think of the whole shinobi world, I should find a way to protect Aimgakure." "Naruto, what are you doing?" Conan asked, startled as he suddenly dropped to his knees and took her hand. "I may not deserve Nagato's gift, but I'll trust in the faith you both placed in me," he said, pressing her hand to his forehead. "I'll use his eyes to protect this village. As long as I live, I'll protect you. That's my vow, my promise for life." "Please get up," Conan said quickly, her face flushing faintly. Naruto froze, caught off guard by the rare sight of her cheeks tinged pink. His chest tightened with emotions he couldn't name: gratitude, admiration, wonder, or maybe something else he dared not define. Whatever it was, it left him strangely relieved. For the first time since his capture, he felt lighter. Their walk back to her office was spent in silence, but it wasn't awkward. Even Naruto knew something had shifted between them. Conan was no longer just the leader of AIM to him. She had become something more. "Before we move in, remember this: don't underestimate Aimgakure," Kakashi told his team firmly, pausing to face them. "AIM might not rival the great nations in strength, and their shinobi may not be as powerful individually as you are, but they have numbers. They excel in genjutsu and stealth. And remember, we're deep in enemy territory. Retrieving Naruto by force must be our last option. If they mobilize fully, we won't walk out alive." This mission was labeled S-rank for a reason. As a former ANBU captain, he hated stating the obvious, but with rookies like Sakura and Tenten, and reckless fighters like Lee and Guy, he couldn't afford to skip details. "Guy, if you would," Kakashi said. Without hesitation, Guy bit his thumb, blood trickling as he ran through hand signs. "Kuchios no Jutsu." A massive plume of smoke erupted, revealing an enormous tortoise whose head alone dwarfed the nearby trees. "It's been years since you called me, boy. What's the reason this time?" boomed a deep female voice, startling the group. Guy grinned. "It's good to see you, Granny Kamiko. I need your help." "Of course you do," the tortoise muttered with an exasperated sigh. Clearing his throat, Guy explained, "We must enter Aimgakure unnoticed. Walking or swimming across the lake will expose us." The great village was surrounded entirely by water, with only 2 bridges granting access. Shinobi could use chakra to walk on the surface or swim underwater for long stretches, but AIM's security remained among the tightest even after Pain's death. "I can get you inside," Kamiko said, "but you know the price." "I do. I'll rely on you once more," Guy replied with a respectful bow. Before anyone could react, the colossal tortoise opened her mouth wide. "Guy-sensei, wait, you don't mean—" Tenten shrieked, but Guy grabbed her by the collar and tossed her in without hesitation. "Inside, everyone," he commanded. Despite their reluctance, the rest followed, allowing themselves to be swallowed whole. Once inside, the tortoise shrank to the size of a handheld turtle and dove beneath the water. "I swear, I'll never forgive you for this, sensei." Tenten hissed furiously, wringing her saliva-soaked clothes after they were expelled from the tortoise's stomach. Their hair and outfits clung to them, drenched not just with water but stomach fluids. Sakura grit her teeth but held her tongue, knowing they had no choice. "Neji, how's the area?" Yamato asked, turning to the Hyuga who scanned with his Byakugan. "No shinobi in sight, only civilians. Looks like a marketplace nearby." "Good. I'll head out and grab someone to question," Kakashi said calmly. "Wait, we're not going to torture anyone, are we?" Lee asked nervously, his imagination spiraling at the thought. "No need for that," Yamato explained. Kakashi can pull what he needs with his Sharingan, quickly and without pain. Lee exhaled in relief. Elsewhere in the village, Naruto slept soundly despite the bright daylight. The transplant surgery had gone smoothly, advanced medical techniques made it quick, but the anesthetic still kept him unconscious. In his dreamlike state, Naruto found himself once again inside his mindscape. Water pooled shallowly at his feet, the familiar sound of dripping echoing off pipes and shadows. "Whoa!" he exclaimed, startled as his reflection caught his eye. The bright blue eyes he had known all his life were gone. In their place gleamed the cold, rippling purple rings of the Rinnegan. What would Ba-chan think if she saw me now? Or Sakura, or Kakashi-sensei? He wondered before pushing the thought away. With where he now stood in relation to Konoha, it hardly mattered anymore. "Ah, whatever," Naruto thought, brushing the feeling aside with a shrug. "It's not like I'll be seeing them anytime soon. But still, why am I here?" Ever since his father reinforced the seal, his link to the Kyuubi had been nearly severed. Still, deep down, he knew his presence here had something to do with the beast. His hunch was right. As he reached the massive iron gates, the colossal fox was already pressed against the bars, its burning eyes locked on him. "How did you get those eyes, the eyes of the sage?" Kyuubi demanded, voice laced with suspicion. Naruto narrowed his gaze. "Why do you care?" he replied flatly. A guttural growl rumbled in the fox's throat as it rose on all fours, pacing restlessly within its cage. "How did you gain the Rinnegan?" The fox bellowed, slamming its claws against the bars with a thunderous crash. Naruto simply watched, silent and unshaken. "You look afraid," he finally said, his tone low but steady. It was the first time he had seen the Kyuubi show true fear. Hatred and contempt were the usual emotions. Sometimes wary hostility, like when Sasuke and his Sharingan confronted the beast. But this was different. The Kyuubi said nothing, though its growls deepened, eyes blazing with fury at its host. Naruto sighed and lowered himself to the watery floor, sitting cross-legged. His body felt drained, whether it was from the lingering anesthesia or the Rinnegan's relentless pull on his chakra, he wasn't sure. "You always used to see everything through me," Naruto said quietly. "You knew when to push chakra into my system, when to push me into rage or patch me back together." "I can't anymore," Kyuubi snarled. "The link is gone, darkness is all that's left." Before the battle with pain, the fox had seen everything through Naruto's eyes. When Jiraiya tampered with the seal, the Kyuubi could even sense Naruto's emotions and fragments of his thoughts. But once Minato restored the barrier, that connection all but vanished. The Ninetales had no clue about Naruto's time in the blood prison, his betrayal at Konoha's hands, or his choice to ally with Aimgakure. Hearing that, Naruto winced. After his week of isolation in prison, he gained a sliver of understanding of what the fox had endured for decades. Nagato was right, Naruto reflected. Unless you share someone's pain, you'll never truly understand them. Rising to his feet, he stepped closer to the gates and met the beast's eyes. "These eyes, they were given to me." "Given?" The fox cut him off with a furious roar. "You dare call them a gift? Humans are vile. You're not worthy of his power. You never will be." The beast pounded the gates again, trembling with rage. "I know that," Naruto whispered. The unexpected reply froze the fox in silence. "I used to be blind to the truth. I clung to childish dreams, bringing Sasuke home, becoming Hokage. I ignored the world's ugliness even though I always sensed it. I just didn't want to see it." "What changed after the Akatsuki's attack?" Kyuubi asked, voice calmer now, curiosity overtaking anger. Naruto told him everything. Nagato's final change of heart, Konoha's betrayal not long after he had saved them, their attempts to drag him back by force, and his decision to join Aimgakure with Konan at his side. "I told Konan I'm not worthy of Nagato's eyes," he said, voice heavy. "The world runs on hatred. You were sealed because of hatred. That same hatred killed my parents and tried to kill me. And here you are, locked away again against your will." He paused, gathering his thoughts. "Peace feels so far away. How can I dream of peace when I can't even reconcile with you, the one who shares my body? How can I protect the rain when I can't bridge the gap with you?" Silence lingered between them. "Is there a way to weaken the seal?" Naruto asked at last. The fox narrowed its eyes. "And why would you want that?" "I've tasted imprisonment myself," Naruto said steadily. And I know now how unfair it was for you, too. Minato's remnant told me about the Sharingan's control that night. You weren't acting of your own will. The fox growled but didn't deny it. I can't open the gates fully. I'd be throwing my life away, and I still have promises to keep. I vowed to protect Konan. I swore to keep AIM safe. But I don't want you to keep suffering either. I'm no expert in seals, the Kyuubi admitted after a pause. I'll ask Konan. Maybe Nagato's writings hold something. He was skilled in sealing arts too. Naruto turned to leave but stopped and looked back. One day I'll set you free, not just you, all of the tailed beasts. You're not mindless weapons. You don't deserve chains. How are you feeling? A familiar soft voice asked. Naruto instantly recognized Konan. Dizzy but better now, he replied with a faint smile. Your body needs time to adjust to the Rinnegan strain, she explained. Your voice, it's beautiful. Like a song, Naruto mumbled, making Konan blink in surprise. Still half under anesthesia, she thought. He had never spoken so openly before. You really think so? She asked. Of course. I'd never lie to you. You're my favorite person in the whole world, Naruto said with a goofy grin. Yes, definitely the drugs, Konan decided, though her lips curved slightly. But why's it so dark? Why am I so tired? Naruto asked, fumbling at the bandages on his eyes. Don't, not yet. Konan stopped him gently, holding his hands. The healers said you'll need to keep them covered for a day or two. Oh, okay, he murmured. But how will I see your smile? That made Konan chuckle. Very few people had ever seen her smile at all. Yet Naruto's delirious words had somehow managed to draw one out. You'll see it tomorrow, she promised softly, ruffling his hair. Promise, I want to see it every day. I'll try, she said, amused. I talked to Kyuubi, he was so mad. Kept yelling about the sage's eyes. Konan's face grew serious. What did he say exactly? He slammed the bars and said I didn't deserve them, Naruto said, giggling. Konan sighed. Keeping up with him in this state was difficult. But I told him it didn't matter, Naruto added proudly. Because Konan believes in me, so I believe in her. Konan squeezed his hand gently. Even if it was mostly drugged rambling, she could feel how deeply he meant it. Konoha wants me back, Naruto suddenly said, eyes heavy. But I won't go, even if Sakura begs me, I don't care. And if they come for you, I'll beat them and send them running. My sage mode's crazy strong, you know? I know, I saw your fight with Nagato, Konan replied softly. That afternoon, she stayed at his side for over an hour, talking and listening until the medic gave him something to rest again. Their conversation hadn't been particularly useful, but it had eased her weary heart. Leading AIM in its fragile state was a crushing burden. Yet somehow, Naruto's unfiltered words and innocent warmth had soothed her spirit more than she cared to admit. However, right after knocking Neji away, a lightning beast pounced on Naruto from behind and shocked him. Even with the enhanced physical ability granted by his sage mode, Naruto was paralyzed for a second. Nice, Kakashi, Guy yelled out in approval and then shouted. Fifth gate, gate of closing, open. A vivid green aura burst from his body, and his pale skin turned a reddish-brown color. Leaf great flash, Guy yelled, throwing a head kick so powerful that it triggered a shockwave in its wake. An even louder shockwave rang when his shins smashed against his target, except that it wasn't Naruto's head. No freaking way! Tenten exclaimed in disbelief when she saw Guy's ferocious kick being stopped by Naruto with a single hand. Team Guy had been away from Konoha on a mission during Pain's invasion, so they hadn't seen Naruto's sage mode in person. All they knew were stories they heard from others. They didn't know that, in his sage mode, Naruto's physical strength enhancements were so insane that he could make craters with his punches, crush boulders in his hands, and throw around dozens of tons effortlessly. If I fought you seriously, both Neji and you would be dead now, Naruto said, and Guy winced when Naruto's grip on his leg tightened to the point where his bones started creaking. Unable to hold her cool any longer, instead of listening to Kakashi's orders to not interfere in the fight, Tenten unfurled a large sealing scroll, and 3 throwing javelins appeared in her hands. Let Guy-sensei go, she yelled and threw all 3 javelins at Naruto in quick succession, with deadly accuracy. Unfortunately, that proved to not be a very bright move as Naruto yanked Guy by the leg and threw him into the trajectory of the javelins, using him as a meat shield. The worst-case scenario did not come to pass, however. seeing as, at the very last moment, a mud wall rose from the ground between Guy and the incoming javelins courtesy of Kakashi. Kakashi had just finished casting the earth technique when Naruto lunged at him with another Rasengan in his hand. He managed to dodge the Rasengan by ducking under Naruto's lunge and came back with a chakra-enhanced uppercut, only for Naruto to blow up into his face. It wasn't the real him, it was a clone, and not just any clone but an exploding clone. Yamato also happened to shout from the distance at that moment, "The AIM troops have started attacking in full force. My Mokyuten jutsu won't last much longer." Rock Lee and Neji having been knocked out, Kakashi getting gravely injured by the exploding clone that blew up in his face, and Yamato's exhausted appearance as he struggled to hold back dozens of AIM shinobi that were trying to breach the giant forest he had created, as Mato Guy took in the situation, his facial expression hardened. "I've never used my 8 inner gates to their fullest power against an ally before. Despite your defection from Konoha, I still considered you one of my students and one of my comrades. However, you leave me with no other choice. I am sorry, Naruto." As Guy said those words, he got into a stance with his hands crossed in front of his face. The veins on his forehead looked like they were about to burst when he shouted, "The 8 inner gates, 6th gate, gate of joy." As the cloak of green chakra around Guy more than doubled in intensity, Naruto got a bad feeling. Raising his hand and aiming it in his direction, he shouted, "Shinra Tensei!" A massive force exploded from his hand, blasting Guy away like a leaf in a hurricane. The force of the almighty push was so powerful that it sent Guy flying through a tower, and even destroyed the deep forest emergence technique, in which Yamato had poured the entirety of chakra to cast. However, much to Naruto's disbelief, although battered, bruised, and bleeding from countless scrapes all across his body, Mato Guy was still standing when the Rinnegan technique ended. With the last drop of his strength, Guy screamed, "The 8 inner gates, 7th gate, gate of shock, open." As Guy took a stance with one of his palms forward, a feeling of danger washed over Naruto. One of the Toad Sage Mode's abilities was to sense danger. "If I let him complete that move, I will die." Time seemed to slow down in his perception as a mixture of feelings bubbled in his heart. Disbelief that someone from Konoha would even go as far as to seriously try to kill him. Frustration at himself that he had not incapacitated Guy when he had had the chance. Unwillingness to leave the world of the living behind with so much unfinished work and so many unfulfilled promises. And at last, a feeling of rage suddenly exploded from his chest. It was an overpowering emotion that extinguished any other feelings he might have had. At that moment, as he made a tiger seal, Guy thrust his hands forward and screamed. "Hurud!" A split second before Guy could finish launching the ultimate move of his 7th gate, Daytime Tiger, Naruto raised his hand and shouted, "Bansho Tenin! Hugh!" Guy let out a grunt of surprise as he was unexpectedly yanked forward against his will. But even as he was being pulled forward, he maneuvered his body into a flying kick position, intent on taking Naruto's head off if he maintained the technique until the end. Guy's flying kick never reached Naruto, however. A screeching sound suddenly filled the air. Then, Guy's body was split in half cleanly by a Rasen Shuriken. Tent and Yamato watched in horror how the devastating wind technique not only killed their comrade, but even reduced the rest of his body to atoms. Guy was dead. Kakashi, Neji, and Rock Lee were knocked out, and Yamato was on the brink of fainting due to chakra exhaustion. Tenten lost the feeling in her legs and fell to her knees in despair. As she glanced up at Naruto, overwhelmed by panic and terror, the stony expression on his face and his inhuman Rinnegan eyes made him look especially menacing. From her distorted point of view, she did not notice the tears that started falling down his cheeks. "Yo, Sasuke!" An orange-masked man with a single eye appeared out of nowhere in front of Sasuke and his team, causing them to abruptly stop in their tracks. "I didn't sense his chakra. He appeared out of nowhere." "What's going on?" Karin couldn't understand it. Nobody had ever fooled her senses before due to her Kekkei Genkai. "How did you know where to find me?" Sasuke asked, his eyes narrowing at him. As far as he knew, he and his team had been traveling under the radar for the past several months, staying out of the public eye and plotting their next course of action. "Don't underestimate me," Tobi said. "I have considerable powers. So what do you want with me now?" Sasuke cut straight to the point. Taka left the Akatsuki, we're done with you. As it stands, you reneged on your promise to me, Obito said. His words made everyone in Sasuke's team become alert and prepared for battle. What are you talking about? I'm talking about hunting the tailed beast. We already caught the 8 tails and delivered them to you, Karin said. That was just a clone. A special clone technique, but a clone nonetheless. You've been fooled. In other words, you guys failed. While Sasuke was thinking back on the moment of his fight with Killer Bee in an attempt to discover when the Jinchuriki managed to escape, Tobi continued. Frankly, I'm disappointed in you all. So what are you going to do about it? Suijutsu shot back snarkily. It's none of our business now. Nope. You will finish whatever work you started as members of the Akatsuki, but having said that, forget about the 8 tails for now. I've decided to give you a different task. And if I refuse, Sasuke asked, then we'll fight it out right here. And you won't be able to go to the Hidden Leaf Village. Alas, it's too late for you to go to Konoha now either way. Konoha has already been destroyed. Sasuke, whose hand had just been engulfed by lightning, suddenly froze at his words. What do you mean by that? What the hell happened? How would Konoha just get destroyed overnight? You've been living under a rock in the past 2 months, or what? Tobi said. But he did not continue to antagonize him and told him the short version of the events that had transpired. My subordinate Pain destroyed the Hidden Leaf Village, and since both you and Pain were a bit too overbearing, the 5 Kage are now in the middle of a summit. And what does that have to do with me now? Sasuke said belligerently. You don't get it, do you? Tobi said with a shake of his head. With Pain dead, as of now, you have become the most wanted person in the elemental nations. And especially with how cocky and reckless you've become, I'll give you 1 year at most before you end up dying in a ditch. At Sasuke's scoff, Tobi asked a question. Tell me, Sasuke, have you ever seen a rogue nin from Kumigakure? Thrown off by the seemingly random question, Sasuke didn't reply. My bad, it was a poor choice of words on my part considering you're almost blind now, Tobi said mockingly. When is the last time you heard about rogue ninjas hailing from Kumigakure? That's right, you haven't. Not in your lifetime. Do you know why? The Cloud Village has the most disciplined, numerous, and relentless Black Ops shinobi in the world. The Akatsuki had members from Suna, Iwa, Kiri, Konoha, and other minor villages, but none from Kumo. Kumo always takes care of its trash. Why are you telling me all of this? Sasuke shouted, starting to lose his patience. Get straight to the point. Tobi shrugged uncaringly at his outburst and said, Honestly, at first, my plan was to break into the Kage Summit and declare war on the 5 great elemental nations. But I ran into quite the unpredictable situation. Suijutsu and Karin both started laughing at him. You wanted to declare war on the 5 great hidden villages, all by yourself, ha ha ha. You're out of your mind, Suijutsu said, holding onto his belly with his hands from laughing too hard. Right after Naruto sent Neji flying, a beast of lightning leapt at him from behind, surging with electricity. Even with Sage Mode boosting his body, the shock froze him for a heartbeat. Nice timing, Kakashi, Guy shouted with approval before roaring. 5th gate of closing, open. A blazing green aura erupted around him, his skin flushing with a reddish tone. Leaf great flash, he bellowed, swinging a high kick so fierce that the air split apart in a thunderous shockwave. The next crash was even louder, his shins slamming against something solid, but it wasn't Naruto's head. No way, Tenten gasped, eyes wide, as she witnessed Naruto catching Guy's devastating strike with a single hand. Team Guy had been out on a mission during Pain's assault and had never seen Sage Mode with their own eyes. They'd only heard rumors, stories of Naruto shattering stone with his fists, ripping through boulders, and tossing weight like it was nothing. Seeing it firsthand was another matter entirely. If I'd been serious, both you and Neji would be corpses by now, Naruto said coldly. Guy winced as Naruto's grip tightened around his leg, bones groaning under the pressure. Unable to watch anymore, Tenten ignored Kakashi's command to stay back. She unfurled a scroll, summoning 3 long spears into her hands. Let him go, she shouted, hurling all 3 with pinpoint accuracy. Naruto smirked cruelly, swinging Guy into their path like a shield. The spears hurtled toward him, but before disaster struck, a wall of earth rose, blocking their trajectory, Kakashi's doing. But he had no time to breathe. Naruto lunged at him, a Rasengan roaring in his palm. Kakashi ducked under the strike and countered with a chakra-charged uppercut, only for Naruto's body to explode in his face. It was a clone, an explosive one. From the rear, Yamato's strained voice rang out. The AIM forces are pushing harder. My Mokyuten won't hold much longer. Neji and Rock Lee were already unconscious. Kakashi was bleeding badly from the blast, and Yamato was on his last legs against the wave of AIM shinobi. As Guy assessed the battlefield, his face darkened. I've never gone this far against one of my own before, he muttered, voice heavy. Even after you abandoned Konoha, Naruto, I still thought of you as my student. But now I have no choice. He crossed his arms before his face, veins bulging at his temples. 8 inner gates, 6th gate, gate of joy open. His aura doubled in size, burning brighter, making Naruto's instincts scream in warning. Naruto raised a hand. Shinra Tensei! A colossal wave of force blasted outward, hurling Guy through a tower and tearing apart Yamato's wooden defenses. Yet when the dust cleared, Guy still stood, broken, bloodied, but unbowed. With a roar, he pushed beyond his limits. 8 gates, 7th gate, gate of shock open. His chakra blazed like wildfire, and Naruto's danger sense screamed. He knew instantly, if he completes this move, I'll die. Time slowed, doubt, rage, frustration. The thought that Konoha's own shinobi would go so far to kill him burned in Naruto's chest until fury consumed everything else. Guy thrust his palms forward. Hurrah! Before the attack could fire, Naruto snapped his hand out. Bansho Tenin! Guy's body jerked forward, dragged against his will. He twisted midair, lining up a final flying kick aimed at Naruto's skull. But the kick never landed. The air shrieked with a razor sound. Then Guy's body was torn apart by a Rasen Shuriken. His form disintegrated into nothingness. Tenten and Yamato froze in horror. One instant their sensei was alive, the next he was erased from existence. Kakashi lay injured, Neji and Lee unconscious, Yamato on the brink of collapse. Tenten's legs gave out, her mind breaking. When her eyes lifted toward Naruto, his expression was like stone, his Rinnegan eyes cold and alien. To her, he looked like a monster. What she couldn't see were the tears slipping down his cheeks. Yo, Sasuke! An orange mask appeared out of thin air, one lone eye staring. Sasuke and his squad halted instantly. Karin's heart skipped. I didn't feel him approach at all. That's impossible. How did you find us? Sasuke demanded, eyes narrowing. They had stayed hidden for months, careful not to be tracked. Don't underestimate me, Tobi replied lightly. I have my ways. Sasuke's gaze hardened. What do you want? Taka is finished with Akatsuki. You broke your promise, Obito said flatly. The team tensed. What promise? The capture of the tailed beasts. Karin snapped back. We delivered the 8 tails. Obito shook his head. That was just a clone, a clever one, you failed. While Sasuke replayed the fight in his head, Tobi sighed. Honestly, I'm disappointed. Suijutsu sneered. And what's it to us? We're done. Not quite, you'll finish the job. But forget the 8 tails, I have another task for you. And if I refuse, Sasuke challenged, then we fight now. Either way, you can't reach Konoha, not anymore. The village no longer exists. Sasuke froze, lightning dancing around his hand. What did you say? Pain leveled it, Tobi explained simply. And now the 5 cage are holding a summit. Sasuke's jaw tightened. And this involves me how? With pain gone, you're now the most wanted man alive. At this rate, you'll be dead in a year. Sasuke scoffed. Tobi's eye gleamed. Tell me, Sasuke. Ever hear of a rogue shinobi from the cloud? Confused, Sasuke said nothing. You haven't because there aren't any. Kumo cleans up its trash. Their black ops are unmatched. Akatsuki recruited from everywhere Suna, Iwa, Kiri, Konoha, but never Kumo. Think about that? Why tell me this? Sasuke snapped. Tobi shrugged. My original plan was to crash the cage summit and start a war, but things have changed. Suijutsu burst out laughing. You. Declare war on all 5 villages by yourself. You're insane. Tobi ignored the mocking jabs aimed at him, acting as if they weren't even worth acknowledging. His masked gaze shifted as he spoke with calm intent. I need your assistance retrieving something from a former member of the Akatsuki. Sasuke raised an eyebrow, his voice laced with sarcasm. You were planning on declaring war against the entire world, weren't you? Knocking down a rogue shinobi should be nothing for someone with your supposed power. Tobi's single eye narrowed slightly, catching the meaning in Sasuke's tone. Konan proved far more formidable than I had anticipated. Looking back, she may have been among the strongest members in our ranks. I shouldn't have underestimated her. After all, she's the one who defeated Sasori and bent him into service. Still, that's not the main issue. While I managed to win our clash, I hadn't expected the Ninetales host to appear and intervene. Sasuke's eyes widened slightly. Naruto? Yes, Tobi confirmed. Don't dismiss him, he's not the boy you once knew. He proved his strength when he toppled Pain. Right now, he surpasses you. Sasuke frowned. But why would Naruto side with a member of the Akatsuki? He's a Jinchuriki himself. It makes no sense. Ah, perhaps I neglected to mention it. Uzumaki Naruto has severed ties with Konoha. What? The revelation hit Sasuke like a thunderbolt. Naruto, of all people, had abandoned the village. Naruto, who once chased him endlessly across the continent just to drag him back home. Honestly, his choice is easy to understand. Tobi continued, voice almost mocking. If I were him, I might have reduced the village to ashes before leaving. But that's beside the point. What I want from you is simple. While I recover what belongs to me from Konan, you only need to keep Naruto occupied. Sasuke's tone hardened. And why should I? Don't waste your time offering protection. I don't need it. Confidence radiated from him. After all, he had recently subdued the full might of the Eight Tails and its Jinchuriki. With the Mangekyo Sharingan in his arsenal, Sasuke believed himself untouchable. Tobi's voice cut through that confidence. Your sight worsens each day. The more you use those eyes, the quicker blindness will consume you. Do you remember these? From his cloak, Tobi produced a sealed flask filled with green liquid, and within floated 2 preserved eyes. Sasuke's face tightened, his chest heavy with regret. That's right, Tobi said smugly. Your brother's eyes are still in my possession. Sasuke glared fiercely, silently cursing himself. After his battle with Itachi, grief had overwhelmed him. He hadn't even considered preserving his brother's body, something he now regretted deeply. You understand the implication, don't you? Tobi pressed. Sasuke's jaw clenched. Of course I do. Then we have an agreement? Fine, Sasuke said at last, but I want the transplant before any fight. His demand carried 2 meanings. Either he didn't trust Tobi to honor their deal afterward, or he refused to enter combat at risk of blindness. Very well, Tobi replied with indifference. To him, whether Sasuke bore Itachi's eyes or not mattered little. In his calculations, Sasuke could never pose a true threat. Let's head to the hideout. Don't resist. With that, Tobi enveloped Team Taka in his kamui and vanished in a spiral of distortion. Meanwhile, in the rain-drenched streets of Aimgakure, Konan directed her shinobi to secure the captured Konoha intruders, binding them with her paper techniques. Naruto stood nearby, staring blankly at the devastation their clash had caused. I had no choice, he whispered. When Guy had opened the 7th gate, every instinct screamed that he wouldn't survive if the attack landed. Faced with death, he had acted. As Konan descended gracefully through the rain, she approached Naruto, her expression calm but observant. Few noticed the inner turmoil behind his stoic face, grief for what he had just done. By the time she reached him, he had forced his emotions back under control. How do you feel? She asked, her eyes searching his. Any strain, pain? He shook his head. No, my chakra feels steady. My body accepted these eyes completely. But there's something else. 2 of Konoha's shinobi escaped through the sewers. We need to capture them. Can your paper scouts find them? Her brows rose slightly in surprise. They crept into aim and attacked while I slept, Naruto explained, voice firm. This battle injured our people and scarred our home. Whatever bonds I once had with Konoha, they're gone. Konan nodded, her form scattering into thousands of fluttering paper butterflies. They swarmed through the village until, minutes later, they reformed beside him. I found them, she said. 2 survivors, a girl carrying an unconscious boy. She gestured to a nearby ANBU operative. Take 10 Chunin and block the southeastern sewer outlet at the lake. Understood, the shinobi answered, vanishing instantly. Turning back to Naruto, Konan spoke gently. You've done more than enough. I'll deal with them myself. I want to finish this, Naruto began, but she placed a hand on his shoulder, her touch soft but firm. You were just in the hospital. This is your first battle with the Rinnegan. Rest. I have a feeling the coming days will offer us little peace. He hesitated, then exhaled. All right. Far underground, Sakura could still hear the distant echoes of the battle. Her mind replayed the sight of Naruto's eyes, those alien Rinnegan orbs, and the way his voice carried no warmth anymore. The Naruto she remembered felt gone. How could he change so much in just a few months? She thought bitterly. Gaara's warning had hinted at this transformation, but seeing it with her own eyes was different. Her thoughts were broken by the weary sigh of the great tortoise she had summoned. "Another of my summoners has fallen," the creature murmured, not with sorrow but resignation. Sakura's heart froze. What do you mean? That youth guy, he's dead, gone before his time like his father." Her face went pale. "No way, you're wrong. Guy-sensei is one of Konoha's strongest. He wouldn't die here, I don't believe it." The tortoise only rumbled. "My contract is broken. I no longer have reason to aid you. You are alone now." With those final words, it vanished in smoke, leaving her trembling in disbelief. Minutes passed before a sudden flutter of paper butterflies filled the sewer. They coalesced into the form of a blue-haired woman cloaked in black and red clouds. "Akatsuki," Sakura muttered, taking a stance before the unconscious Lee. Conan's voice was calm but sharp. "Your comrades have already fallen. This is the end. Surrender quietly." "Liar," Sakura snapped. "There's no way Guy-sensei, Kakashi-sensei, or Yamato-sensei would lose to the likes of you." With a defiant roar, she charged forward. "Shanero!" Her chakra-enhanced fist swung with devastating force, seemingly ripping Konan apart into countless slips of paper. For a heartbeat, Sakura thought she had won, until Konan reformed effortlessly behind her. "I hoped to spare you, out of respect for Naruto," Konan said, voice cold. "But it seems you refuse to yield." Her form unfolded, splitting into endless paper blades that filled the sewer. They sliced into Sakura's body, blood painting her skin. Desperation triggered the seal on her forehead. Black markings spread across her body as the strength of 100 activated, rapidly knitting her wounds. Roaring, Sakura lunged again, but Konan's substitution left her striking only empty space. Her punch blasted a massive hole through the sewer ceiling, exposing the stormy sky above as paper blades swirled hungrily around her. Despite her determination, Sakura's attacks did little against Konan. The woman's mastery over paper techniques was a natural counter to close-range fighters, especially those relying on taijutsu and weapons. Even in the tight corridors of the sewers, Sakura had been at a disadvantage. But when she blasted a hole through the ceiling and exposed the battleground to the open air, she unknowingly signed her own death sentence. By the time Sakura realized what she had done, Konan had already taken to the skies. "No. If she gains too much height, I won't be able to reach her." From above, Konan would have free rein to rain down her paper weapons. Desperate, Sakura grabbed a massive chunk of broken concrete, veins bulging in her arms as she hurled it toward her enemy. "I won't let you escape," she shouted. The slab weighed several tons, an impact that could easily reduce any average shinobi into nothing but pulp. But the strike never landed. The sharp whistle of steel echoed in the air, and the colossal debris was cleaved neatly in two. Before Sakura could even react, searing pain exploded across her shoulder. Her right arm was gone. A strangled scream tore from her throat as she dropped to her knees, clutching at the spurting wound with her remaining hand. "Yield or die," Conan's cold voice carried down as a massive paper chakram hovered threateningly by her side. Sakura couldn't answer. Her gaze remained fixed on the severed limb lying in the rubble, shock paralyzing her body. Helpless and bleeding out, she barely resisted as sheets of paper swirled around her, binding her tightly until she was cocooned like a prisoner of war. Hours slipped by, and dawn arrived. Though the sun had risen, the skies remained heavy with storm clouds. Rain lashed the windows of Conan's office as she quietly sipped steaming tea, overseeing the village below. "Lady Konan," one of her guards announced, "Uzumaki Naruto requests an audience." "Send him in." When Naruto entered, Konan was briefly taken aback. He was battered, rain-soaked, and dirt still clung to his skin from the battle the night before. Gone was his bright orange outfit. In its place, he wore simple dark blue pants, a black shirt, and the standard flak jacket of Ames Jonin. The change made him look less like the loud outcast of Konoha and more like a true shinobi. "So, you've made your decision," Konan said. "Was there ever a doubt? I already claimed Nagato's eyes." "Besides," Naruto smirked faintly, "I promised you, didn't I? As long as AIM doesn't betray me like Konoha did, I'll stand by this village. Her expression softened. I'm glad to hear that, Naruto. This suits you. She wasn't referring to his clothes. What truly mattered was the headband gleaming on his forehead. For the first time in his life, Naruto wore a protector that did not bear Konoha's leaf symbol. Instead, it bore 4 vertical lines, the crest of Aimgakure. You're the first to wear the reborn symbol of the rain, Konan told him warmly. After Hanzo's death and Akatsuki's rise to power, the village had carried a slashed symbol to mark their hatred of the old regime. But with Naruto inheriting Nagato's Rinnegan, Konan believed AIM needed to leave the scars of the past behind. The restored emblem symbolized a new beginning, and Naruto was the first shinobi to wear it proudly. Thanks, Naruto replied quietly. Deep down, he was touched. For all he had done for Konoha, they had never acknowledged him properly. His peers rose to Chunin and Jonin, while he had remained a genin. Even after defeating Pain, they refused to promote him. But now, here in AIM, his strength was finally recognized. He had been given the rank of Jonin. Konan found herself smiling again. She realized she'd been doing that more often since rescuing Naruto from Hozuki Castle. What about your former comrades? She asked suddenly. Naruto stiffened. I don't know. He remembered how they had come after him while he was still weak from surgery, invading AIM without hesitation. Yet, despite everything, the thought of killing them outright gnawed at him. What do you suggest? He asked her. Traditionally, there are 2 routes, Konan explained evenly. We could interrogate them for every scrap of intelligence, then harvest their bodies for secrets. Kakashi and Neji's eyes would be invaluable to AIM. Or, she paused before continuing, we could keep those with rare bloodlines alive, forcing them to produce heirs for the village's future. Naruto's stomach turned at her words, but he knew she wasn't exaggerating. Orochimaru's experiments, Kumo's attempt to steal the Byakugan, this was the world of shinobi, ugly, brutal, unforgiving. And the other option, he pressed. Exchange them as prisoners of war, she replied. Konoha would pay dearly to retrieve shinobi like Hadate Kakashi, Yamato, or even Sakura. Naruto frowned in thought. He didn't consider them precious anymore, but years of fighting side by side couldn't simply vanish. He didn't want them tortured or slaughtered. We should trade them, he decided finally. Konoha can provide AIM with coal, food, and supplies. Kakashi's a key figure, Yamato has the Mokuton, and Sakura is Tsunade's pride. They won't abandon them. Konan studied him for a moment, then nodded. If that is your choice, then it shall be done. Thank you, Konan. He knew full well how much she was sparing them. Any other village would have torn them apart for their bloodlines and secrets. 4 days later, Naruto still hadn't gone to see the prisoners. Instead, he had secluded himself near AIM's border with Iwa, training in the rocky terrain. Bansho Tenin, he roared, dragging a massive boulder toward himself with invisible force. A clone appeared beside him. Shinra Tensei, caught between the opposing gravitational pulls, the rock shattered violently into dust. Good, using clones lets me bypass the 5-second cooldown, but this shared vision is still hard to manage. Focusing, Naruto formed a ram seal. Extra arms sprouted from his shoulders, and additional heads grew from his neck, giving him the monstrous image of an Asura warrior. His clone winced. Seriously, you look creepy as hell. Without hesitation, one of Naruto's new arms morphed into a cannon, blasting the clone to oblivion. He barely blinked as the memories returned. He was used to his clones dying. It may look grotesque, but 3 heads mean complete vision. 6 arms give me an edge in close combat. Combined with Sage Mode, I could overwhelm anyone who doesn't expect it. He began running through the toad's katas with all 6 arms at once. His movements were clumsy, sometimes colliding with himself, but he didn't care. Training had never been about ease. It was about persistence. Back in AIM, one of his shadow clones sat in the dim light of his apartment, scroll in hand, reading until his eyes strained against the flickering gas lamp. I should probably wrap things up. It's getting late, and I need to save my chakra, the clone mused. He carefully rolled up the scroll and set it on the table before lying down on the couch, one arm tucked under his head. His eyes were already closing when a soft knock reached his ears. Naruto, are you still awake? Came Conan's gentle voice through the door. Yeah, give me a second, the clone answered as he got up. He opened the door to see her standing there. Hey Conan, didn't expect you this late. Something on your mind? He stepped aside and gestured her in. I wanted to talk. Hope I'm not disturbing you. Not at all. I was just reading. He motioned toward the pile of scrolls on the table. Conan's gaze shifted to them, and recognition flickered in her eyes. Nagato's sealing texts. Any luck making sense of them? Naruto gave a helpless laugh. Not really. It's like staring at a foreign language. I barely understand half the symbols. I warned you, she said, her soft chuckle making him feel lighter inside. Fuinjutsu isn't something you can just jump into. It takes years, and you have to start from the foundation before you can even dream of touching Uzumaki-level techniques. Studying is the worst, he groaned. But I made Kyuubi a promise. Can't quit just because it's tough. Then start small, work on the basics, step by step. I'm no Nagato, but I can guide you up to a certain point. Naruto gave her a suspicious squint. You just want me to make storage scrolls and exploding tags for you, don't you? Her laughter rang out again, and something in his chest tightened. Well, you need to start somewhere, she teased, resting her chin on her hand as she watched him. Naruto couldn't help but stare back. Maybe it was the way his feelings for her had been changing, or maybe the Rinnegan made him more aware. But he was becoming painfully conscious of her presence, especially those vivid amber eyes that seemed to catch every flicker of light. I'm sure the boss would help you if you asked. I'd do it and we're basically the same, right? He said, scratching the back of his head with a sheepish grin. When is he returning anyway? Not sure. He'll signal me when it's time to summon him. Thanks to his Rinnegan, Naruto could now see through his clone's eyes and even pass them instructions by writing them down. Oh, looks like he wants me to summon him now, the clone suddenly exclaimed. Forming hand signs, he pressed his palm to the floor. Kuchios no Jutsu. With a burst of smoke, the original Naruto appeared. The clone gave him a sly grin. Lucky you, boss, the clone popped, and Conan noticed Naruto's cheeks go red as he processed the memories it left behind. She couldn't help smiling. The summoning trick really is useful, Naruto said quickly, trying to shake off the less wholesome thoughts he'd just inherited. As long as my clones carry these black rods, they can bring me here instantly. An idea struck him. Maybe you should carry one too, that way I can call you if something happens. I already do. She tapped her finger to her lip piercing. His eyes widened. Wait, that's made from the same material. But instead of focusing on the piercing, his gaze lingered on her lips, soft, full, and slightly glossy. His mind went blank until her voice pulled him back. Yes. You can summon me anytime. He swallowed, quickly glancing away. She didn't comment on his stare, only offered a knowing smile. So, how's training going? Getting used to your Rinnegan yet? Naruto scratched his head. Kind of. I've got the push and pull of the Deva path down, but Chibaku Tensei keeps blowing up too soon. The Usura path is a nightmare, too many arms to control at once. Haven't had the chance to really test the human, Naraka, or outer paths. The animal path won't summon anything, but at least Preta path works fine. Conan studied him. Then focus on Deva and human paths first. Why those? For when Uchiha Madara shows himself again. Her voice dimmed slightly. I've been going over ways to counter Kamui, but Aimgakure's resources are limited. That last fight cost me years of preparation, and Madara still won with Izanagi. The bitterness in her tone was clear. Everything she'd planned, all undone by a single jutsu. But not everything was wasted, she continued. I learned something important from that battle. Let me explain what I know of his powers. She laid them out. Intangibility, self-teleportation, teleporting others, and rewriting reality at the cost of a Sharingan. I suspect his phasing is automatic, she said, meaning surprise attacks won't land. Naruto frowned. Then how did I land that kick on him? His ability isn't flawless. Every jutsu has limits. Kamui can only last 5 minutes at a time, and during that period he can't attack. He has to become solid again to strike or teleport. My whole strategy was to bait him into that moment. And I noticed something else. When he turned intangible to dodge my explosion, gravity still pulled him down. That means your Rinnegan's forces should still work on him. Naruto's brows furrowed as he thought it through. So even if he's untouchable, I can still drag him around with Deva Path. But that won't hurt him. That's where I step in, Conan said firmly. I'll prepare several kill zones. Your job will be to trap him long enough for me to finish it. This time I won't rely on paper bombs alone. I have a different plan. Naruto's grin stretched wide. Now that sounds like real ninjutsu. Not long after, his 5 clones unleashed dragons of different elements, filling the field with raw energy. Seeing himself wield all 5 natures at once sent a thrill through him. If only I'd learned more than just Rasengan and Shadow clones, he thought bitterly. Kakashi had never shared his 1,000 jutsu, and Jiraiya had focused almost entirely on taming Kyuubi. 2 years of training, and all Naruto had to show for it was a stronger Rasengan and slightly sharper taijutsu. Now, with the Rinnegan granting him all 5 elements, he wasn't going to waste the chance. Konan gladly provided Aimgakure's library of jutsu, and with clones accelerating his learning, the results were staggering. So this is what it feels like to be called a prodigy, he marveled. Jutsu after jutsu came easily. Basic techniques, large-scale attacks, he mastered them in hours, something that would take others years. All right, he said at last, facing his clones. Activate the Usura path. Let's see if I can handle 2 jutsu at once. From his torso sprouted another pair of arms, while his original hands flew through seals. Sutin, water vortex. A roaring spiral of water shot forward as Naruto released the jutsu, but he wasn't finished yet. With another pair of hands moving simultaneously, he wove a second set of seals. Raten, electromagnetic murder. Bolts of lightning burst forth from his Usura path hands, merging with the swirling torrent. The combination birthed a storming whirlpool of electrified water, a technique resembling Kumo's fabled storm release. Deadly and unforgiving. Across from him, one of his shadow clones used the Preta path to drain away the destructive chakra. His other doubles mirrored the strategy, 2 forming their own mixed jutsu with Usura, and the remaining pair absorbing with Preta. The effect was an endless loop, like creating an infinite chakra exploit. Even so, no trick could completely cheat reality. By sundown, fatigue gnawed at his reserves. Since awakening the Rinnegan, chakra exhaustion had crept into his life almost daily. It still took hours of training to hit that wall, but the fact it happened at all was proof of how demanding that I truly was. One last jutsu, then I'm done, Naruto thought, pressing his palms together like a prayer. Between his hands, a pale sphere of energy condensed. Chibaku Tensei! The glowing sphere darkened to black and launched skyward, smashing through the ceiling overhead, climbing 100 meters in the blink of an eye. Wait a second, ceiling, he froze. He had been at the foot of a mountain near the Aim-Iwa border. There shouldn't have been a building anywhere around him. Naruto-chan, what are you doing? 2 voices echoed at once, and cold sweat prickled down his back. He recognized this place instantly. How the hell did I end up here? Forget that, cancel it or our house will, the voice cut short. The entire structure, roof, walls, timber splintered and lifted into the sky, drawn by Chibaku Tensei's pull. Panicking, Naruto slammed his hands back together, forcing the technique to collapse. The debris came crashing down like a storm of stone and wood. Our home, cried a pained, feminine voice. Ma, Pa, the house, it's… Ma, his eyes. Look, both elders of Mount Myaboku turned toward Naruto, staring at the rippled lavender orbs in his face. The Rinnegan. I'm sorry, Grandpa Sage, Granny Sage, Naruto bowed over and over, frantic. He hadn't meant to destroy their dwelling. He hadn't even realized he'd been transported here mid-technique. The elder toads steadied themselves at his apology, though unease lingered in their gaze. Why did you summon me this time? Naruto asked carefully. The great Lord Elder foresaw something concerning you, Fukasaku explained. But before that, am I seeing things, or did your eyes truly become the Rinnegan? Naruto boy, what happened to you? Naruto exhaled slowly. It's a long story, but Konoha cast me aside. They accused me of trying to assassinate the Raikage. No trial, no chance to speak. They sealed my chakra and locked me in Kusugakure's prison. Lady Shima gasped. Impossible, after all you've done for them. If it weren't for you, Pain would never have revived those lives he took. Minato and Jiraiya must be turning in their graves, Fukasaku muttered. But are you absolutely sure? Could it all have been some ploy? Naruto shook his head. They told me later it was part of a plan to expose Grass's schemes, that I was never really a suspect. But then, after I escaped, they sent their strongest after me, Kakashi, Gai, Neji, Yamato. They ambushed me in my sleep while I was recovering from surgery. His voice hardened as he continued, telling them everything: how Konan freed him, gifted him Nagato's Rinnegan, and sheltered him. How Konoha Shinobi struck him down when he was weakest. How Guy had opened the seventh gate and forced Naruto to kill him in self-defense. The elders were silent, absorbing each word. "Now I understand why the Great Lord Elder called for you," Fukasaku finally said. The Great Elder's heavy lids lifted, ancient eyes fixing on Naruto. His usual scatterbrained air vanished. The Rinnegan Hagoromo's eyes. It all becomes clear. Naruto waited quietly as the prophecy unfolded. "I received 3 visions, will you hear them?" "I'm ready." "First," the elder began, "an enemy from your past will come to claim something precious from you. I could not see what, but standing here now I know, and so do you." Naruto's jaw tightened. He already knew the name. Uchiha Madara. The man who ruined his childhood, tore his mother from him, and drove his father to sacrifice himself. The shadow behind every wound in his life, and the one who nearly killed Konan. The elder continued, unaware of the storm in Naruto's chest. "My second vision was of war, a conflict that spread across the entire world. No nation escaped it, even Mount Myaboku burned, death and devastation everywhere." A heavy silence hung over the room. "Can your prophecy be wrong?" Naruto asked quietly. "The 5 Kage just forged an alliance in Iron Country. Konan told me herself, they stand united to stop Akatsuki. Why would they fight each other?" "Perhaps they wouldn't. But if Madara claims your Rinnegan," Fukasaku warned. "You know well the elder's visions never lie." Lady Shima added gravely, "And the world still believes AIM to be the Akatsuki's stronghold. Konan, Nagato's partner, rules Aimgakure. Their alliance could be meant for her destruction." The realization drained the color from Naruto's face. "Then, their alliance is to wipe AIM off the map." "It's very possible," she said softly. Naruto swallowed hard. "And the third vision?" At that the great elder called out, "Gerotora." A puff of smoke revealed a small toad, his body patterned in black and orange. "You summoned me, great elder. In the vision, you placed yourself inside Naruto." "What?" Gerotora exclaimed. "Give him the 4th Hokage seal." Grumbling, the scroll toad stretched, his body unfurling to reveal a sealing formula. "This is the key Minato left behind," Gerotora explained reluctantly. "It controls the gates of the Ninetales prison. With this, you could even set it free if you dare. Place your hand here." Naruto didn't hesitate. His fingers lit with chakra as he pressed against the marked square. For weeks he had been seeking a way to honor his promise, to free Kurama without losing his life. That was why one of his clones in AIM studied sealing arts alongside Konan. He didn't love Fuinjutsu. He wasn't a natural scholar, but if it meant keeping his word to the beast within him, then he'd master it. "Contract sealed. I'll be going into storage now." "Storage? What do you mean by that?" "You don't need to lift a finger. Just open your mouth." Naruto stepped back cautiously. "What?" "Yes, now say ah, don't waste time." "You sound shady as hell," Naruto muttered, refusing. "Quit acting like a brat. Open your damn mouth." "No. Look, do you want the key to the Kyuubi's seal or not?" That broke his resistance. A moment later, as something slid down his throat, Naruto was choking, gasping for air, realizing far too late that his suspicions about the little toad had been right. Konohagakure no Sato, the supply of wood can't keep up with demand. Same goes for bricks, tiles, and other construction materials. "We've been taking rice from the land of rice, grain from the land of rivers, and fish from the land of waves for 3 months without paying. Our debts are stacking, and they're demanding compensation." The Tsuchikage reported his scouts noticed strange movements on their border with the land of rain. There are traces of massive jutsu being used. With the land of rain's numbers, he believes they're drilling their troops for war. After half a dozen grim reports, Tsunade finally snapped. "Does anything ever go right? Shizune, please tell me you've got at least a shred of good news." "I'm sorry, Tsunade-sama." Suddenly, an ANBU appeared silently and knelt. "Chunin Tenten has been captured by the Barrier Corps and brought in. She claims the S-ranked mission in Aimgakure failed." "What?" Tsunade's chair screeched as she shot to her feet. "Take me to her immediately." T&I Department HQ 30 minutes later, Tsunade sat in disbelief. Naruto awakened the Rinnegan. Guy was killed. Shikaku Nara, Ibiki Morino, and Inoichi Yamanaka, present during the interrogation, were just as stunned. They all remembered the terror of Pain's godlike might when he flattened Konoha into a crater almost single-handedly. But Guy had the 8 gates. How could he fall to someone who just obtained the Rinnegan? Naruto was still in the hospital when you went after him. Not to mention Yamato's Mokuton and Kakashi's Sharingan. How did they all lose so easily? Shikaku said, frowning. Ocular powers carry a kind of genetic memory, Ibiki explained. Most shinobi with special eyes instinctively know how to wield them. We have to act. We're not abandoning them, right? Tenten shouted desperately. Hokage-sama, we're going to rescue them, aren't we? We can't just storm AIM now that Naruto has the Rinnegan, Shikaku said, shaking his head. Tenten, you didn't see Pain when he wiped out the village. It was the power of a god. Numbers don't matter against that. And if Naruto has had more than 2 weeks to train, given his mastery of clones, he's probably already adapted to most of the Rinnegan's powers. You're just going to leave them, Tenten snapped. We've risked our lives countless times for this village, and Guy-sensei died. How could you even suggest walking away? Calm yourself, Ibiki cut in, scowling. No one said we're abandoning them. He signaled his men, and Tenten was escorted out, leaving only the 4 of them. You've been quiet, Inoichi. What's on your mind? Tsunade asked. I'm trying to assess Naruto's state of mind. He feels betrayed, cut off by the village. But if Tenten's words are true, he wasn't aiming to kill them at first. That means he doesn't completely hate Konoha, yet. But Guy's death shows he'll fight to the death rather than return. Ibiki nodded grimly. And taking Pain's Rinnegan shows he's switched allegiance to AIM. Konan wouldn't entrust him with that power, unless she was sure of his loyalty. Hokage-sama, we may have to accept that Naruto might never come back. Tsunade buried her face in her hands, silent for a while. What about their offer? She finally asked, gesturing to the open scroll on the table. Shikaku answered. They released Tenten knowing we'd believe her story. A letter could have been doubted, but sending her back cuts down suspicion and wasted time, moving straight to negotiation. And honestly, Tenten wasn't valuable as a hostage. AIM's leader is sharp, not your typical Kunoichi. I didn't ask you to praise her, Shikaku, Tsunade said with irritation. I want thoughts on the deal. Coal reserves are decent, but not nearly enough for what they're demanding. And we're already buried in debt from food imports. Adding coal would crush us further. We can't abandon our people, Inoichi said firmly. You think I don't know that? Tsunade slammed the desk. Her student, Sakura, was among those held captive. She couldn't accept losing her. These demands are impossible, Shikaku said after a pause. Konan's demand for coal was astronomical, enough to power AIM for over a year. Konoha didn't even have that much in one place. We should negotiate a direct meeting. That way we can test their strength, intentions, and see what cards they're hiding. Will they agree? Ibiki asked. They will, Shikaku replied. The fact they rushed this deal means they're pressed for time too. Remember, they attacked Naruto in the hospital during curfew with the power cut. That plus their push for coal suggests their own supply is running low. That tracks, Tsunade admitted. The Land of Rain cut itself off for nearly a decade. No trade, no allies, and being the birthplace of Akatsuki, they're not exactly welcomed anywhere either. So they're as strained as we are, Ibiki said, rubbing his chin. With consensus reached, Tsunade grabbed a pen and scroll and began writing AIM a response. 2 days later, back in the Land of Rain, Naruto wasn't training. Instead, he sat cross-legged in his usual clearing, eyes shut, lost in meditation. When his mind opened, he stood before Kyubai's cage. This time the fox was calmer, watching silently. What do you want? The beast rumbled. The toads gave me the key to Yondame's seal. The key to this gate. Naruto raised his arm, revealing the tattoo-like mark stretching from palm to forearm. I could open it right now and set you free. That made Kyuubi rise on all fours, eyes burning into him, making Naruto's skin crawl. I've been caged for weeks, but he's been trapped nearly a century. The hunger for freedom must be unbearable, Naruto thought. I want to keep my word to you, but I don't want to die either. A Jinchuriki dies when their Biju is removed. That's how Gaara fell. That's how my mother died, though you sped it up by stabbing her with your claws. If you're waiting for an apology, forget it, Kyuubi snarled, rage simmering. I don't need one, Naruto replied evenly. They locked you away, treated you as a weapon. You wanted freedom. If anything, the blame lies with them, and with the first Hokage, who started it all by sealing you in the first place. As the Kyuubi remained quiet, Naruto continued speaking. The fourth made this key because he believed I'd one day be able to claim your chakra and bend your strength to my will. The toads told me the same. The fox growled low, his presence pressing like a storm, yet Naruto stood firm, unshaken. But I don't want that. I don't need to steal your power if the cost is you being locked away like this. I know what it's like to live in a cage, and you don't deserve that. You should be free. Kyuubi's eyes narrowed suspiciously. What are you plotting, boy? Everyone in this world covets my strength. Madara lusted for it, the leaf coveted it, even you begged for it countless times. And now you say you don't want it? Naruto's gaze lowered to his reflection in the shallow water beneath his feet. I've awakened the Rinnegan, he said quietly. This eye is so overwhelming it unsettles me sometimes. I haven't even mastered half its powers, and yet I feel I could defeat several of my past selves without struggle. When Kyuubi's crimson eyes locked with Naruto's purple, ringed gaze, a shiver ran through the beast's body as the boy declared. I've grown stronger. I have the power to crush you here and take every ounce of chakra you own, but instead I'd rather set you free. You've been chained long enough, suffered long enough. The silence that followed stretched endlessly. Kyuubi studied the boy with piercing eyes, probing for deceit. His innate ability to sense emotions told him one thing: Naruto was sincere. Every word carried truth. Still, it was difficult for the fox to accept that a human, especially this human, truly wished to release him. You claimed you don't intend to die yet, so how will you free me? Kyuubi finally asked, his voice softer, stripped of its earlier malice. I've thought about it for days, Naruto replied. There's one way. I can unseal you if you agree to form a contract with me. The mention of a contract stirred suspicion, but also something Kyuubi hadn't felt in decades: hope. And how would this work? By using the outer path and animal path of the Rinnegan. With these, Naruto said, and a black metallic rod grew from his palm. Then, to Kyuubi's surprise, Naruto stepped past the gate's bars without hesitation. Try me if you want, I'll knock you back, he said with a smirk. Kyuubi growled but didn't strike. He knew well what the Rinnegan could do. Here, test it yourself. Naruto extended the rod. The fox delicately picked it up, claws holding it like a toothpick. I can sense your chakra flowing through this. It works both ways. Our chakras can connect. If either of us needs strength, we can lend it instantly. Kyuubi narrowed his eyes. And the catch, there's always one. As I said, you'll sign a contract. These chakra receivers will bind us together. Once inside you, you can't remove them. Our chakras will remain linked. I'll be able to summon you, and you can summon me. A fraction of your chakra will stay with me so I survive, while you gain your freedom and do whatever giant foxes do when they're unbound. The beast paced restlessly inside the cage. Freedom had always been his dream, yet having it dangled before him like this almost felt unreal. What's there to hesitate about? Together, we'd be stronger than ever. Think about it, what happens when our chakras become one? Kyuubi froze mid-step, eyes widening as realization hit. Genjutsu, it won't affect me anymore. That had always been his weakness, Madara enslaving him, the Sharingan binding him. If Genjutsu could no longer control him, then the chains of his past would finally break. His hesitation dissolved. You've won, the fox said at last. No, we both have, Naruto answered with a relieved smile. You gain freedom and protection, and I gain a companion I can rely on. Naruto extended his fist, and for the first time in a century, the Kyuubi actually smiled as his massive paw met the boy's hand. Later, in Aimgakure, Konan read aloud a letter. Konoha seeks to trade coal in exchange for the safe return of their shinobi. Yet their demands exceed what the village can bear after Akatsuki's invasion. I suggest a direct meeting in Takumi village, within the land of rivers. I will bring only 2 aides, as this is diplomacy. Consider well, Konoha, even weakened, is better as an ally than an enemy. Bring proof of our shinobi's well-being if you agree. Tsunade, 5th Hokage. As she placed the letter down, Naruto asked, What will you do? Will you meet them? Konan exhaled slowly. We need their coal as much as they want their people back. We have little choice but to accept. Naruto's jaw tightened. And if they try something underhanded? His trust in Konoha had shattered after they once attempted to seize him from a hospital bed. A faint smile tugged at Konan's lips. I'll have you with me, won't I? With you at my side, nothing they attempt will succeed. Naruto grinned. Of course, I'll protect you with my life. As she began drafting her reply, Naruto's gaze lingered. Catching it, Konan tucked a strand of blue hair behind her ear, inwardly amused. He's so transparent, like a loyal pup craving his master's attention. The thought nearly made her laugh, but she disguised it with a cough and returned to her writing. Konoha still calls itself strong, she muttered. But if they truly believed it, their forces would already be at our gates. Her mind drifted back to her childhood in war-torn Aimgakure, family lost to Sand Shinobi, Nagato's parents murdered by Leaf Shinobi. The great villages never ask. They take. They kill, plunder, and call it their right. Her hatred had never faded. And now, Konoha's restraint was nothing more than fear of Naruto's Rinnegan and his unwavering loyalty to Aim. Speaking of him, she startled slightly as Naruto's hands rested on her shoulders. "You seemed tense," he said, kneading her stiff muscles. A sigh escaped her lips despite herself. "That feels amazing, but not now. I must finish this letter. Continue in half an hour and I'll be grateful." "Sure thing," he replied. Then she froze, wide-eyed, as his lips brushed the crown of her head. He quickly stammered, "Sorry, I didn't mean," but before he could finish, she turned with a smile. Relief flooded him until she wrapped her arms around him. "There's nothing to apologize for. I understand and I accept." Naruto's eyes widened before he crushed her in a fierce embrace, burying his face into her neck. Her scent, warm and faintly spiced like cinnamon, filled him. Such a pup, Konan thought, amused as he breathed her in like he never wanted to let go. A while later, he finally loosened his hold, though he didn't step away. For the very first time in his life, he had experienced this kind of closeness with a girl, truthfully with anyone. She was warm, soft, and carried a sweet fragrance that made it impossible for him to let go. His body, overwhelmed by the rush of new emotions and his racing hormones, refused to release her from his embrace. With their faces less than 10 centimeters apart, their similar height made it impossible for him not to notice the warmth of her breath brushing across his lips. Perhaps it was only his imagination, but when he licked his lips, he swore he could almost taste its sweetness lingering in the air. His hand rose to cup her face, and his thumb traced gently along her cheek. The softness beneath his touch left him in awe, while the way she leaned into his palm sent waves of unfamiliar feelings spiraling in his chest. "Can I kiss you?" he whispered, his voice trembling with vulnerability. Short lime removed. 1 week later, Takumi Village, nestled within the land of rivers, had once stood as one of the most renowned places among both civilians and shinobi alike. Known far and wide for its master craftsmen and their unrivaled ability to forge tools and weapons, the village had often been targeted, sometimes by allies, sometimes by enemies, during the chaos of war. But following the conclusion of the Third Great Ninja War, as the world's major hidden villages eased into an uneasy peace, Takumi Village slowly faded from memory. Nearly 2 decades later, many of its weapon shops were long gone. The artisans who had once focused solely on producing tools for battle now poured their skills into new creations better suited for peacetime. The village gradually shifted into a hub for innovation and technology. Still, its notoriety endured, not for its crafts, but for the daimyo of the land of rivers, who often employed missing nin as his personal protectors. This made the village something of a sanctuary for rogues and wanderers alike. As Konan quietly explained all this, Naruto stared around wide-eyed at the busy streets and lively stalls. For a place that had supposedly lost its greatest industry years ago, it was thriving. "We're here," Konan said, pausing before a towering 3-story pagoda. "How many shinobi can you sense inside?" Naruto asked. He could easily slip into sage mode and scan for himself, but doing so might have been seen as a threat. 5 ninja with a few dozen civilians. I'd wager 3 of them are from Konoha. The other 2 are likely the daimyo's guards, Konan replied. Her sensory perception was sharp and steady. "Lady Konan of Aimgakure has arrived." At the announcement, every gaze inside the chamber shifted toward the entrance. The first figure to step in was a woman with short blue hair, amber eyes, and a gray cloak covering most of her frame. A delicate paper flower decorated her hair, and a small piercing gleamed at her lip. Despite her allegiance to Akatsuki, Konan chose not to wear its infamous black cloak. The fragile balance of diplomacy demanded restraint. Naruto followed her in. At the sight of his unnatural, purple eyes, Tsunade shot to her feet while Shikaku and Hayashi tensed at her side. Memories of Pain's devastation and Konoha's destruction still haunted them, and those eyes, so eerily familiar, sent a chill down their spines. "Greetings, Daimyo Hokage Dono," Konan spoke with calm precision. The daimyo returned the courtesy at once. Tsunade, however, hesitated, her voice low when she finally said, "Greetings." Konan settled into her seat at the round table, while Naruto took position behind her. The daimyo cleared his throat. "As host and mediator, I remind you all that this is neutral ground. Let us keep this meeting focused and peaceful." Konan stayed composed, waiting for Tsunade to begin. "I'll start with one demand," Tsunade said firmly. "Show me proof my shinobi are alive. Without that, this meeting is meaningless." Naruto stepped forward and placed an envelope on the table. Tsunade's fury exploded. With a crushing blow of her fist, the table shattered into splinters. "How could you do this, Naruto?" she roared. "How could you kill Madogai? How could you betray your village? How could you side with those who hunted you for years?" "This isn't about me answering to Konoha," Naruto replied evenly, unaffected by her rage. "My loyalty is to Lady Konan now, Hokage." His calm words and unshaken stance cooled her temper like ice water. Meanwhile, the daimyo sat drenched in sweat, his two guards gripping their weapons tightly. They were strong, yes, but mercenaries without loyalty. Facing the slug Sannin's wrath, even they trembled. Konan gestured, and the scattered photographs floated up to hover before Tsunade. Other than Haruno Sakura, who lost an arm but has since been treated, all of them are unharmed. At Naruto's insistence, none were tortured or interrogated. "Their chakra is sealed, nothing more," she explained. "Sakura lost an arm." Tsunade's voice broke, her anger so intense her body shook. Seeing her distress, Shikaku carefully stepped in. "Back to the matter at hand. Delivering the amount of coal you demand in one shipment isn't possible. But we can provide it gradually over 6 months, in return for both our shinobi and a favor from you." He never finished. A heavy blade tore through the air, and in the blink of an eye the daimyo's head was severed, blood spraying like a fountain. "That blade, Kubikirabacho," Hayashi exclaimed. "The daimyo? Who dares?" the guards shouted, panic setting in. Tsunade, Hayashi, and Shikaku immediately prepared for battle. "There are 4 intruders. Their chakra is strong. Get ready, Naruto," Konan warned. "Got it." The two had already prepared a plan if things went wrong, so Naruto didn't need further orders. "Shinra Tensei!" The room's outer wall exploded outward, debris scattering. In the chaos, Naruto and Konan leapt clear, landing on a rooftop in the daimyo's courtyard. "If you wanted to make a dramatic entrance, you could have aimed for the Jinchuriki's head instead," a sharp voice sneered. "Shut it already, loudmouth," another barked back. "Enough, Jugo, Suichitsu, keep the Hokage and the others busy." "Karin, stay hidden until needed," commanded a familiar voice. Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Sasuke!" Sasuke emerged from the ruins, but before the tension could settle, another figure appeared, an orange mask, the Akatsuki cloak unmistakable. "The Rinnegan," the masked shinobi snarled. His fury erupted as his gaze landed on Naruto. "Not only did you betray me, Konan, but you gave him the Rinnegan. I swear your death won't be quick." Konan didn't answer. Her wings of paper unfurled, filling the air with thousands of floating tags. Sasuke smirked, his voice cutting through. "So the rumors are true. Naruto Uzumaki turned his back on Konoha. The world really has gone mad. Honestly, teaming up with you to crush Konoha doesn't sound bad, but I've been hired to kill you instead. Let's see whose eyes reign supreme, yours or mine." He stopped short when Naruto suddenly doubled over, clutching his throat and coughing violently. A crow forced its way out of his mouth, its eyes glowing with a strange power. Before anyone could react, 4 of Conan's paper blades sliced it apart, leaving bloody scraps fluttering. "What was that?" "That crow, it looked like Itachi's summon. Naruto, are you all right?" Konan asked quickly. "I'm fine," Naruto said, catching his breath. No time to explain now. He had nearly forgotten about Itachi's planted crow. Whatever power it carried, he couldn't dwell on it. Not when 2 Uchiha radiated killing intent so heavy it pressed on the air itself. For a brief moment, silence reigned. The screams of fleeing civilians echoed in the distance, sharp and haunting in Naruto's ears. Sasuke suddenly shouted, "Amaterasu!" A stream of blood rolled down from his Sharingan as black flames erupted, swallowing Naruto whole. But the cries of pain Sasuke expected never came. Instead, the legendary fire, said to never die and burn hotter than the sun itself, curled inward and shrank until it was snuffed out in Naruto's palm. Bansho Tenin! Sasuke's body lurched forward uncontrollably, being pulled straight toward Naruto. Even as he was dragged, the Uchiha quickly wove a tiger seal and spewed a massive fireball. Yet his flames were neutralized almost instantly. Extra spectral arms sprouted from Naruto's sides, forming hand seals and producing a clone through the shadow clone jutsu. Gakido, the clone muttered, absorbing the fireball into nothingness. Naruto's hand was just about to close around Sasuke's neck when Obaido materialized behind him, snatching Sasuke into the Kamui's void. But Konan had been waiting. Knowing Obaido needed to solidify his form to warp someone away, she acted in that exact instant. 3 paper tags latched onto his arm and neck. "Damn it," Obaido cursed in his mind just before his body burst apart. "Stay cautious. He'll use Izanagi," Konan warned firmly. Even as her words hung in the air, a thunderous crash shook the battlefield. The grand pagoda crumbled, rubble scattering, and a scream echoed into the night. Dust billowed away, revealing a chakra barrier dome. From the wreckage, Tsunade punched her way free, completely intact despite her bloodied clothes. Not far off, Obaido reappeared in midair with Sasuke at his side. "I thought bringing Sasuke would keep Naruto occupied, but he's proven useless. I never imagined Naruto would awaken the Rinnegan." He had originally chosen to confront Konan away from her homeland, avoiding her intricate traps. But everything fell apart the moment Naruto entered the picture, with Rinnegan no less, a gift from Konan herself. Retreat. Or gamble on killing him here? Capturing Naruto alive now seemed impossible. Killing him would set the Akatsuki plan back years, since the Ninetales might not re-emerge for a decade. But retreating would only give Naruto time to master those cursed eyes and grow unstoppable. He knew better than most how terrifying a skilled Rinnegan wielder could be. The thought of Naruto reaching that stage while also harnessing the Ninetales was intolerable. While Obaido weighed his choices, Tsunade stepped forward dragging Jugo's limp, monstrous form. Her body was unmarked despite her ruined clothes. "Jugo," Sasuke muttered, alarm flashing in his eyes. He knew better than anyone the destruction Jugo could unleash. Yet Tsunade had dispatched both him and Suijutsu with ease. "Finally, something good," Tsunade sneered, tossing Jugo's body at Sasuke's feet. "Now I can bring down both traitors myself." "Lady Tsunade, wait. Quiet, Shikaku." With a snap, dark markings spread from her forehead seal, racing across her body. 3 groups now stood in a deadly standoff. Tsunade alongside Hayashi and Shikaku, Obaido with Sasuke and his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and Naruto partnered with Konan. The tension between them was suffocating. "We can't fight here," Naruto whispered to Konan. "Too many innocents will die." She gave a short nod. "We'll lure them out toward the desert." In the blink of an eye, Naruto vanished in smoke while Konan scattered into fluttering sheets of paper. "They won't escape. Sasuke follow them on foot," Obaido barked before swirling away. "Hayashi," Tsunade snapped. "Already tracking," the Hyuga answered, Byakugan blazing. 9 o'clock, they're moving fast." As the pursuit began, Sasuke remained standing among the ruins, momentarily frozen. His thoughts raced. He absorbed Amaterasu impossible. Even the 8 Tails couldn't withstand it. How did Naruto? Obaido reappeared before Naruto and Konan, forcing them to a halt. Hands pressed together in a prayer-like seal, he smirked beneath his mask. "The Rinnegan can absorb ninjutsu, yes, but let's see your limit." The ground quaked violently as a massive figure rose. A colossal wooden statue, towering more than 100 meters, bristled with countless arms. When Tsunade caught up, her heart nearly froze. Grandfather's jutsu? She never thought she'd see Hashirama's greatest technique again. Yamato's Mokuton was a pale shadow compared to this, the true several thousand hands. Shikaku and Hayashi stood speechless, their jaws slack. Their awe was broken only when another massive form materialized, Sasuke's Susanoo, its towering purple frame stretching wings of light. "Naruto," Sasuke roared, his Susanoo drawing back its bowstring and loosing a colossal arrow wreathed in black fire. Simultaneously, the wooden giant creaked forward, unleashing an endless barrage of punches. Tsunade's bravado cracked inwardly. Even with her regeneration, she doubted she could survive attacks of that magnitude. The battlefield had turned into a clash of legends. Naruto remained calm. With a hand sign, 3 clones appeared beside him. One darted away instantly, while the other 2 stood ready. "Gekido!" a clone called, stretching its arms to absorb Sasuke's fiery arrow and the statue's onslaught of wooden fists. "What?" Obito's eyes widened. Even his clones can wield Rinnegan abilities. His original plan had been simple: overwhelm Naruto, force him to defend, and prevent him from countering. But with clones sharing his powers, Naruto was free to act as he pleased. Instead of wearing him down, Obito was feeding him chakra. Scowling, he clapped his palms together, halting the statue's assault. Letting Naruto drain him any further would be suicidal. He needed a new approach. "Bansho Tenin!" As Naruto and one of his shadow clones roared in unison, Obito was suddenly yanked forward, his body dragged against his will. "This isn't good. My Kamui can't resist this pull." For all his battles, Obito had never clashed directly with a true Rinnegan user before. The fact that the Deva Path's gravitational force could override his intangibility caught him completely unprepared. "Not this damn ability again." Sasuke spat, teeth clenched as he drew his blade, only to be ripped from his Susanoo by Naruto's universal pull as well. Naruto had already foreseen this. The Rinnegan's gravitational tug worked on Obito, dragging him in close. But as expected, Obito slipped through Naruto's clone unharmed, his body phasing away at the last second. On the other side, however, the real Naruto caught Sasuke's wrist before his sword could swing. Sasuke immediately tried wrenching his arm free, but Naruto's grip was like iron. The orange markings circling Naruto's eyes gave away the fact he had already entered Sage mode. Of the 3 clones Naruto had created earlier, one had darted off to gather natural energy. Through the outer path's black receivers, that clone steadily funneled Sage chakra back to the original, keeping him empowered without needing to dispel. "Arg!" Sasuke howled as Naruto's hand tightened like a vice, bones cracking until the blade slipped from his grasp. But the Uchiha wasn't finished. With a growl of defiance, he twisted midair and lashed out with a kick aimed at Naruto's head, only for the blonde to snatch his leg as easily as catching a falling branch. Now dangling in the air, Sasuke flailed, trying to attack with what he had left. But his eyes widened in disbelief as 2 additional arms sprouted from Naruto's torso, seizing his other limbs with crushing strength. For a moment, Sasuke's mind froze, unable to comprehend how Naruto could suddenly wield 4 arms. Madara had kept him in the dark. Neither he nor Obito had ever expected Konan to hand Naruto the Rinnegan. They had thought bringing down the pair would be simple. "Konan, now!" Naruto barked, his voice muffled by the mask strapped over his face. The countless paper sheets swirling through the air suddenly scattered, releasing a dense, violet mist. Unlike her previous exploding tag strategy, this time the assault was different. "Poison?" Obito's lone eye widened. He reacted quickly, but not before breathing in a lungful of the toxic fumes. So that's why he's wearing a mask. Obito realized as he bolted, trying to flee the poison zone. But after only a few steps, his vision blurred and his legs faltered. "What is this poison? I barely inhaled any, and even with Hashirama's cells, it's already overwhelming me." Konan glided above him like a vengeful specter, her paper still dispersing clouds of the venom. "How do you like Hanzo's legacy, Madara? Even after a decade, the venom of the black salamander remains just as lethal as the day it was harvested." Obito ignored her words. He had no interest in breathing in another mouthful. Instead, he slammed his hands to the ground. "Mokuton, deep forest emergence." "Poison, that's your big plan," Sasuke sneered despite being restrained. "Pathetic. Poisons can't touch me." Orochimaru's experiments had hardened his body against nearly every toxin. Even strung up in Naruto's four-armed grip, he remained smug. That smugness vanished instantly when a clone of Naruto appeared behind him and drove a sage-powered punch into his back. Susanoo's ribcage shattered like brittle glass. Sasuke cried out, agony surging through him as another blow slammed into the back of his head. His body went limp, foam bubbling at his mouth. Yet Naruto didn't let up. Activating the Preta path, he siphoned Sasuke's chakra until only a faint ember remained, just enough to keep him alive. The earth suddenly shook as the desert between the land of wind and the land of rivers was swallowed by a forest of towering trees. "This is bad," Naruto muttered, sensing Obaido's chakra through sage mode. He left a clone to guard Sasuke and sprinted toward his masked opponent. With the dense forest as cover, Obaido had countless barriers to break Naruto's gravitational pull. He only had to materialize briefly, letting trees shield him from being dragged out. This went horribly. "I underestimated them both," Obaido thought grimly, leaping from branch to branch as Konan hounded him overhead, paper shurikens slicing through the air and poisonous clouds billowing in his wake. "If it weren't for Naruto, I'd have crushed her already." His anger simmered, but his body betrayed him. The poison gnawed at his stamina, his vision tunneled, and his breath grew shorter. Worse still, Naruto was closing in at alarming speed. "I just need 2 seconds." 2 seconds was all Kamui required. Normally trivial, but against foes of this caliber, it was an eternity. Forming a tiger seal, Obaido turned midair and unleashed Katen, Great Fire Annihilation. A wall of fire surged forward, forcing Konan to retreat. It gave him precious moments to prepare his escape. "You won't enjoy this victory for long," he snarled. "I'll return, and next time I'll make you regret it." But when he tried to activate Kamui, dread consumed him. His body froze. He couldn't move. "Shadow possession technique. Got you?" His gaze snapped downward. Shikaku Nara's shadow tethered him in place, cast long and deep by the blazing inferno. Snarling, Obaido's chakra flared violently, shattering the shadow binding. He was ready to retaliate, until a palm strike slammed into his back, disrupting his chakra. 5 more gentle fist blows rattled through his body like gunfire. "You pests just keep crawling out of the woodwork. I'll kill you all," Obaido roared, spikes of wood erupting from his flesh in every direction. But Hyuga Hayashi was ready, spinning swiftly. "Chitin!" Before Obaido could regain control, a blur surged in front of him. Tsunade's fist shot toward his face like lightning, shattering his orange mask into fragments. At full strength, Obaido could have phased away or countered. But the poison had dulled his reactions, and his second inhalation of it, while casting his fire technique, had further crippled him. Horror twisted his scarred face as Tsunade wrenched out his last Sharingan and crushed it in her palm without a word. She didn't waste time with speeches or gloating. Chakra surged around her fist, the air itself trembling as she swung, intent on reducing Obaido to nothing more than blood and dust. At the very last second, a voice rang out behind them. "Bansho Tenin." Obaido's body was violently pulled away, Tsunade's strike smashing into the earth instead. The impact carved a massive crater, but the Hokage's focus immediately snapped toward the source. Her guarded expression quickly shifted into shock when Naruto's voice followed. "Ninjendo." Before anyone could process it, Naruto ripped the very soul from Obaido's body. The lifeless shell of the Uchiha collapsed, discarded like worthless debris. As the corpse hit the ground, Naruto's Rinnegan gleamed with an icy light, his gaze shifting coldly toward the stunned Konoha shinobi. Tsunade, Shikaku, and Hayashi tensed instinctively, ready for whatever came next. But before they could act, a flutter of paper wings marked Konan's arrival. She landed beside Naruto, her hand gently resting on his shoulder. "Let me handle this, Naruto," she said softly. "All right, just don't lower your guard," he replied. She gave him a faint smile, then stepped forward to face the Hokage directly. Their brief exchange didn't escape Shikaku's sharp eyes. "This isn't exactly the best place or time for diplomacy," Konan began, her voice calm but firm, "but dragging this out benefits no one. Better we conclude matters here and now. What do you say, Hokage Dono, or would you rather continue this fight?" The battlefield, burning trees, broken ground, and lingering smoke, was hardly the place for negotiations. Yet Konan's words made sense. Tsunade took her time before answering. "I won't claim my people's lives are worth less than the coal you demand, but Konoha doesn't have enough reserves to hand over at once. If you agree, we can provide it in several shipments over half a year." Konan inclined her head slightly. "That is acceptable, but how do we know Konoha will honor its word? We could hold your shinobi and release them only after each delivery." Shikaku spoke up before Tsunade could respond. "Forgive me for speaking out of turn, but I have a question for Naruto. Do you still despise Konoha?" The silence that followed was heavy. Tsunade felt her heart tighten as Naruto stood unmoving, his answer delayed. No. I don't hate it, he finally said. But I have no reason to return. I belong to Aimgakure now. In Aim, I'm respected. I'm not some useless genin ridiculed as the village clown. I'm a Jonin, Konan-sama's right hand. Don't waste your breath trying to drag me back. It won't happen. Shikaku nodded, unsurprised. Then perhaps we can still be allies. If there's no hatred, there's no need for hostility. Alliances require balance, Konan interjected. Give and take. What exactly does Konoha expect, and what do you offer in return? As the talks continued, a shadow clone appeared, carrying an unconscious Sasuke. Tsunade's eyes widened at the sight. Sasuke, is he alive? What will you do with him? I didn't kill him, he's only unconscious, Naruto replied. I could hand him over if I get something in return. Her brows furrowed. And what is it you want? I want to visit the Uzumaki shrine. That place still stands? Tsunade asked with doubt. Her grandmother, Mito, had been in Uzumaki, so she knew of it. But after Pain's devastation, most of Konoha was rubble. Why? The shrine's useless now. Only some strange masks remain there. It's all that's left of my clan. I want the masks, a piece of my heritage. Tsunade exhaled, shoulders loosening. Naruto had always been one to cling to mementos from his journeys. She brushed it off as another one of those sentimental habits. As Hayashi sealed Sasuke's chakra points with a calm precision, Naruto tuned out the ongoing discussion between the leaders. His mind wandered. In the end, I did bring him back. I kept that promise to Sakura, though I'm the one who left the village. The irony almost made him laugh. He had captured Sasuke and returned him, yet he was no longer a leaf shinobi. He was Aim's shinobi now. Sasuke's strength has grown terrifying. Without the Rinnegan, I don't know how I would have stood against him. Naruto knew Sage Mode could overwhelm Susanoo with brute force, but Sasuke's black flames were another matter. Those cursed fires left no room for defense, only desperate evasion. Without the Rinnegan, survival would have been luck alone. Hinata hasn't been the same since you left, Hayashi's voice cut into his thoughts. I didn't just leave. I was thrown into a hellish prison for something I never did. Naruto shot back. You still carry bitterness, Hayashi sighed. My clan has endured something similar. My brother gave his life to preserve peace, even when we were in the right. Such is the way of shinobi, we fight, kill, sacrifice, endure all for our village. Naruto's eyes narrowed. Did the Hokage or elders put you up to this, trying to convince me to return? No, this is for my daughter, Naruto snorted. Oh, now you care, Hayashi frowned at the barb. I've always cared. You'll say it was for her strength, right? That's always the excuse. Naruto cut him off, then drew a steadying breath. Listen, I don't care about your parenting, or your village. Stop wasting your time, I'm not coming back. Hinata's a kind girl, but my feelings were never mutual. It was always one-sided. She'd be wise not to waste her life chasing after me. My path is with Aim now, with Konan-sama. I see, Hayashi said no more. He lifted Sasuke's body and departed silently. Left alone, Naruto's mind replayed Obito's final moments. The truth revealed by Ninjendo still weighed on him. So that masked man wasn't Madara, he was Uchiha Obito, hiding behind a lie. The torrent of stolen memories painted everything in vivid detail. His childhood, the Third War, his twisted partnership with the real Madara, and the night he slaughtered Naruto's parents by unleashing the Ninetales. His death was too merciful. Rage simmered in his chest. He could still hear his mother's agonized screams as the beast was ripped from her body. No part of him could forgive, but the storm inside eased when Conan's voice reached him. Naruto, come here, I need your thoughts on this. The simple fact that she wanted his input made him smile. Her recognition, her trust, things he had longed for all his life, she gave him freely. With her, he was not invisible. He was valued. The talks ended soon after. Thanks to Shikaku's level head, an arrangement was struck. Konoha would trade coal for the safe return of its people. What started as conflict became the seed of an alliance. When it was over, Tsunade stepped toward Naruto. Her furrowed brow betrayed her struggle to find words. I know it's too late, and I know you won't return, but for what it's worth, I'm sorry, Naruto. The apology stunned him. Minutes earlier, she had called him a traitor, ready to drag him back by force. Now, she sounded sincere. Is she truly remorseful or just afraid of me? With a sigh, he answered quietly. You know, I never called you Bachan just to irritate you. I admired you. You were like family. Despite all the betrayal, all the pain, Naruto realized something. He could not hate her. He was angry, hurt, and disappointed. But hatred was beyond him. Tsunade's voice faltered, trembling as the words caught in her throat. I'm relieved you chose not to push this fight further, he said after a heavy pause. Konoha was once my home, and all of you were my comrades. I would have despised being forced to end your lives. I didn't even want to fight Gai-sensei, but he gave me no other option. If it comes to it, I'll do what I must. But know this, AIM is my home now, and my loyalty is with Lady Konan. Silence followed his declaration, thick and suffocating. Neither of them spoke until Hayashi Hyuga finally broke the stillness. Hokage-sama, it's time we left. When the Konoha shinobi disappeared, Naruto and Konan stood together, gazing quietly at the ruined battlefield. It's finished. Madara is finally gone, Konan said with a faint, relieved smile. That wasn't the true Uchiha Madara, Naruto replied coldly. The real one has been dead for years. This man was only pretending. You've already seen his memories, haven't you? She asked. Yes. His name was Uchiha Obito, once a teammate of Kakashi. His story was filled with pain and loss, but none of that can excuse the horrors he caused. Death was far too easy for him. He deserved far worse. The venom in his voice startled her. She rarely heard such unrestrained hatred from him. When Naruto began forming hand seals to burn the corpse, Konan quickly stopped him. Wait. Don't destroy the body. Why not? He lowered his hands, eyes narrowing. A shinobi's body holds invaluable secrets, especially someone as powerful as him. It would be foolish to waste it. Fine. Sheets of paper unfolded from Konan's arms, gently cocooning Obito's body before sealing it away into a scroll. As she worked, Naruto spoke again, his thoughts drifting elsewhere. What's going to happen to the land of rivers now? Their daimyo is dead, and without a strong village to protect them, they're vulnerable. Daimyo were rarely assassinated, their security usually absolute. But the land of rivers was weak compared to its neighbors. Years ago, they had Tanagakyur, a small hidden village. But when the Third Great War ended, the daimyo cut their funding, and the village disappeared. Since then, he relied on mercenaries for protection. That weakness is why Akatsuki operated so freely here. We even kept a base nearby. Naruto's eyes darkened. Right, that was where Gaara fell. Once the sealing was done, Konan straightened. That's when Naruto asked the question that caught her off guard. What if Aimgakure took control of this land? Konan's expression hardly changed, though the idea clearly unsettled her. In truth, it could stabilize the country. With no daimyo and no proper shinobi force, civil war among corrupt officials is almost inevitable. If AIM stepped in, the common people might benefit, but politics is never so simple. How so? This land sits between fire and wind, serving as a neutral buffer. If AIM expands here, both nations might view it as aggression. But Konoha and Suna are close allies now, thanks to Gaara, and AIM has ties with Konoha too, right? Our alliance with Konoha is fragile at best. And don't forget, the other nations will soon demand answers about the captured Biju. With Akatsuki gone and Sasuke defeated, suspicion will turn our way. Naruto frowned. The world doesn't know about Jido Mazo or how the beasts were sealed. The Rinnegan itself is still a mystery. The secret should hold for now. Konan considered his words. Perhaps. Still, your idea has potential. Controlling the land of rivers would give AIM access to the sea. Trade could thrive. But tell me, what do you intend to do with the Biju and the demonic statue? Free them, of course, Naruto said firmly. They're not weapons. They're living beings with thoughts and feelings. They deserve freedom. His conviction made Konan smile softly. You're always so passionate. I promised I'd stand by your vision of peace, and I will. I won't oppose you. But listen, Naruto, it's unwise to release them now. Why? Her calm explanation carried weight. If the Biju are released, it won't take long before every major village dispatches squads to hunt them down. The balance of power shifts with each beast. None of them will resist the temptation. And if they believe AIM is hoarding the tailed beasts, will be branded as enemies. Can you truly fight all 5 nations alone? Even with your power, not yet. Wait until you've fully mastered the Rinnegan. Only then will you wield the strength of a god. Naruto exhaled deeply, recognizing her reasoning. You're right, I rushed ahead without thinking. I still lack wisdom. Thank you, Konan. No one is born with all the answers, she said gently. I'll continue to guide you for as long as you'll let me. That day will never come, he replied with a quiet laugh. I'll always need you. Her lips curved into a radiant smile. You really know how to make a woman's heart flutter. She slipped her arms loosely around his neck, her face drawing close. For a moment, he could only stare into her amber eyes, lost, until her lips brushed against his. The charred forest and shattered earth melted away as he closed his eyes and pulled her closer, savoring her warmth. Even when they finally parted, he couldn't release her. His longing expression made her chuckle softly. You're adorable. His face burned crimson. I just like you too much. His honest words made her feel young again. Shall we return to aim? She asked. Naruto nodded. Konan produced a slip of paper, and with a surge of chakra, Naruto wrote the command, summon us to aim. In an instant, they vanished in a swirl of smoke. Rain drizzled softly over the trees, sunlight breaking faintly through gray clouds. Birds chirped. Grass bent under the weight of a colossal shadow. Kurama breathed in deeply, his massive chest rising. For the first time in decades, he was free. The great fox rolled on the ground, tails swaying like hurricanes, his thunderous movements shaking the land itself. Despite his size, he leapt and bounded with the joy of a newborn cub, a cub the size of mountains. After nearly a century in darkness, he could finally roam again. Yet, for all his destructive potential, Kurama treaded carefully. Out of gratitude to his liberator, he avoided every village, every settlement, mindful not to harm the innocent. Still, his return could not be hidden. The world would soon learn that the Ninetales walked free once more. Reikage Dono, I'll speak plainly. Uzumaki Naruto has slain the leader of the Akatsuki. Uchiha Sasuke has also been taken alive. He currently sits imprisoned in Konoha, awaiting judgment. Because of our previous scheme involving the Land of Grass, Naruto still bears resentment toward the Leaf. He has pledged himself to Aimgakure. More importantly, he now wields the Rinnegan. His strength is beyond measure. Considering every great nation has already lost its Jinchuriki, we cannot afford reckless moves. My advice: treat dealings with the Land of Rain with the utmost caution. Godame Hokage, Tsunade, the Akatsuki's leader, dead. Sasuke captured. Then what in the hell was the point of the Cage Summit? The Reikage roared, his voice making even his aides flinch. Reports suggest a fierce battle broke out near the river country, on the border of Wind. Evidently, the Akatsuki launched an assault during a meeting between Aimgakure's leader and the Hokage, Mabui explained. The Hokage kept that little detail to herself, did she? She dares open talks with Rain behind my back, the Reikage spat. We were supposed to stand as allies, yet she goes running to the birthplace of Akatsuki without a word. I should never have trusted her. Before his fury could settle, the doors slammed open. A shinobi rushed in pale-faced. Reikage-sama, the nine-tailed fox, it's returned. Spotted in the Land of Rain, close to the Earth Country border. What? The Reikage barked, stunned. The Hokage's letter claimed Naruto still lived, warned us of his strength. How can the Kyuubi suddenly be roaming free? Difficult to say, sir, the messenger stammered. But reports describe something strange. The beast has only 8 tails now. The Reikage rose from his seat, walking to the wide window overlooking his village, his hands clasped behind his back. If Tsunade's words hold true, Naruto survives. Yet no human has ever endured a Biju's extraction. And this Kyuubi missing a tail? None of this makes sense. His eyes narrowed. Mabui? Yes, Reikage-sama. Summon Darui, Samui, Karui, and I've a mission for them. 3 days after the clash at River Country, the Kyuubi, blissfully unaware of the turmoil his return had ignited across the nations, finished shaping his lair. He had hollowed an entire mountain to fit his colossal frame. Now he stretched at its base like an oversized cat, soaking up the autumn sun. After centuries confined in damp darkness, the warmth was intoxicating. Hours slipped by as he dozed, but when night fell, the fox lumbered into the comfort of his new den. I'll need to dig deeper. If this is to be my home, it must be fortified. Yet reckless burrowing risked collapsing the structure. I'll ask Naruto tomorrow. With his Rinnegan and mastery of every chakra nature, his Daten could strengthen the mountain with supporting pillars. The fox's tails swished at the thought. I'll have a hot spring large enough for me. A treasure chamber, too. A guest hall, wait until that sand raccoon sees it, he'll choke on his jealousy. For the first time in countless years, the Kyubai's thoughts weren't poisoned with rage or vengeance. Instead, hope stirred within him. He felt content. Naruto truly went that far for me. I'll never forget it. For as long as he lives, I'll guard him. My power will be his. As he envisioned glowing stone lanterns, natural ventilation, and even a great divan, a violent tremor ripped through the mountain. He ignored it at first. Mere earthquakes meant nothing to him. But when the shaking stretched past half a minute, unease flared. Stone and soil rained from above, and before he could escape, the mountain gave way, burying him beneath. "My home," he howled in despair. "Steady yourselves," an elderly voice commanded, cutting through the chaos outside. "A mere cave-in is not enough to break the mightiest of the 9 beasts." The shinobi and kunoichi of Iwagakure braced, their affirmations echoing in the night. "It rises," the elder warned, just as the ruined mountain convulsed. "Do not avert your eyes. Mark this moment in your hearts. Tonight, Iwa reclaims its rightful strength." His words ignited their resolve like fire through oil. "We stand against a calamity, a living disaster, but we are IWA, the will of stone does not crumble. No matter the foe, we fight. This is our era." "RAAH," the shinobi roared in unison. Their cries died instantly as the Ninetales erupted from the rubble, unleashing a monstrous roar that dwarfed their voices into pitiful whimpers. "You wretches!" the fox thundered, a gale-force bellow sending dozens of shinobi tumbling like leaves. "You ruin my den, I'll slaughter you all. Anchor yourselves, chakra to your feet," a towering man commanded. "Hold formation." Hovering above, the Tsuchikage Anoki raised his voice. "First unit swamp of the underworld." Dozens of Iwa shinobi wove hand seals in unison. The ground beneath the beast turned to mire, dragging the fox down under his own weight. But the Biju prepared a counter, chakra swelling in his maw. "It's forming a Baijudama, Kitsuchi now," Anoki barked. Kitsuchi's hands blurred, slamming against the earth. Daten. Mountainous earth technique. 2 titanic slabs of rock rose, crushing inwards to pin the beast. The force shattered the forming sphere, the half-finished bomb detonating in a violent shockwave. The explosion obliterated Kitsuchi's mountain construct, showering lethal debris over the battlefield. Dozens of shinobi were crushed or torn apart. The mire evaporated under the heat of the blast. Still, Anoki gave no pause. Second unit earth spears. Third lava springs. Fourth lava quicklime. A forest of jagged stone spikes surged up, battering the fox from below. Before it could recover, a torrent of molten rock engulfed him, his agonized roar echoing across the land. Quicklime followed, hardening the lava, encasing the Ninetales in a blazing prison. The Kyuubi howled in fury and agony, its jaws splitting open as a swirling mass of violet-black chakra gathered into a dense sphere before its snout. "Not this time," Anoki barked, his wrinkled hands coming together as a small white cube of chakra sparked into existence. "Dust release, atomic dismantling jutsu." The cube rapidly expanded, glowing brighter until it towered over the old Tsuchikage himself. In the blink of an eye, the massive tailed beast bomb became trapped inside the cage of light. For the first time during the battle, the fox's crimson eyes flickered with fear. Its deadly Baijudama shattered into nothingness, reduced to dust in an instant. "Sealing Corps, advance!" Anoki commanded. Nearly 20 shinobi appeared with swift body flickers, encircling the fox in perfect formation. The Kyuubi snarled violently. After countless years in chains, he had finally broken free, only for these pests to try and bind him once again. His fury shook the ground beneath him. "Never again. Even if I die, I'll drag every last one of you to the grave with me." A monstrous new Baijudama began to swell above his head, far larger and more unstable than any Anoki had ever seen. Strips of fur and flesh tore away from the beast's own body as it poured its essence into the technique, sacrificing itself for vengeance. "It's useless," Anoki roared, forming another glowing sphere between his palms. "My particle style can erase anything. Submit quietly, demon." But the Ninetales released the unstable orb before it was fully complete, hurling it straight into the night. The blast was catastrophic. Entire squads of sealing shinobi vanished without a trace, and the shockwave hurled Anoki like a ragdoll into the side of a cliff, stone shattering beneath the force of impact. Panic spread. The remaining shinobi quickly raced through a set of identical seals and cried out, "Earth style! Earth wall!" Dozens upon dozens of barriers of rock and soil surged upward, forming a ring that trapped the Kyuubi in what looked like a vast stone arena. But instead of unleashing another attack, the fox's movement stunned them all. From high above, Anoki's weary eyes widened. His heart nearly stopped. The beast was forming hand seals. No one had ever witnessed a tailed beast using human techniques before. And worse, he recognized the sequence. When the final seal was complete, the fox's guttural voice thundered across the battlefield. Summoning jutsu! Naruto barely had a chance to breathe before Konan shoved him down onto the sofa. His pulse spiked as she unclasped her cloak, letting the gray fabric slide from her shoulders and pool onto the floor. A rare, mischievous smile tugged at her lips, and it nearly unraveled him. Her paper technique kept her body young and flawless despite her years. She looked as if time itself had decided to spare her. And to Naruto, she had never been more breathtaking. The dark robe hugging her frame concealed most of her figure, yet the glimpse of bare arms, the smooth line of her stomach, and the subtle curve revealed at her sides were enough to set his imagination ablaze. He had seen plenty before, sneaking into bathhouses for his pranks, being dragged into brothels by Jirya during their travels. But none of that compared to the way Konan made his chest ache with want. As she approached, the faint creak of leather from her trousers snapped him back to reality. "Konan," he started, only for her finger to silence him against his lips. With deliberate grace, she climbed onto the sofa and his world spun. Lemon removed. Later, Naruto collapsed beside her, their sweat-slicked bodies tangled in the sheets. Her face glowed a deep scarlet, violet hair damp, orange eyes hazy from pleasure, and lips swollen from his kisses. The image seared itself into his mind forever. Unable to stop himself, he wrapped his arms around her and whispered, "I can't believe my first time was with someone as beautiful as you. This feels like the best day of my life." Conan's lips curved softly as she brushed his cheek. "Then let it be your gift. Happy birthday, Naruto." His eyes widened. He had forgotten completely. So much chaos, and yet this moment felt like a miracle. "The best present ever," he grinned, pulling her close. Their foreheads touched, and his voice dropped to a vulnerable whisper. "I love you, Konan." Her smile then was the most radiant he had ever seen. "And I love you, Naruto." They drifted into the evening wrapped in each other's warmth, trading lazy kisses and quiet promises until exhaustion claimed them both. The sudden tug of chakra ripped them from sleep. Smoke filled the air, and when it cleared, both Naruto and Konan realized they had been forcibly summoned into a battlefield, naked. Behind them towered the colossal form of Kurama. "Damn it, Kurama, what's going on?" Naruto shouted, instinctively shielding Konan with his body. Konan's senses sharpened instantly, eyes narrowing. "Naruto, we're surrounded. Over 100 chakra signatures. 2 of them as strong as me." Kurama's low growl echoed like thunder. "The Tsuchikage came prepared. He brought an army to chain me down. They nearly succeeded." Konan's body began to shift into fluttering sheets of paper, folding around her into the familiar black and red cloak of the Akatsuki. Some of the sheets formed into garments for Naruto as well. "They won't last long, but at least you won't be bare in front of everyone," she murmured. Naruto exhaled in relief, glancing at the towering earth walls that penned them in. He remembered Konan's earlier warning. If the tailed beasts are freed, the villages won't hesitate to hunt them down again. They'll always be seen as weapons. And here it was, proof. Iwagakure had come with overwhelming numbers to claim the Ninetales. An entire army and even the Tsuchikage himself. This won't be simple, Naruto thought grimly. The earth walls began to crumble as the Iwa shinobi pressed forward. Hovering above, Anoki's voice carried through the night as he demanded, "Who are you people?" The young man's face felt oddly familiar, though Anoki couldn't immediately place where he had seen it before. Still, the piercing glow of those violet eyes under the moonlight sent a shiver down his spine. "I am Konan, leader of Aimgakure," the blue-haired Kunoichi declared firmly. "Tell me, Tsuchikage, should I take your actions tonight as a declaration of war?" His eyes dropped to her attire, the long black cloak adorned with crimson clouds. The recognition struck him. "So it is you, Konan, the angel of the Akatsuki." Though Konan had rarely stepped beyond Aimgakure's borders, Anoki had crossed paths with her organization enough to know her reputation. "The Akatsuki no longer exist," she answered coldly. Konoha and AIM wiped them out today, and Uchiha Sasuke has already been captured. Anoki narrowed his gaze. The Akatsuki gone, just like that. It was hard to accept. That group had been so dangerous that the 5 great nations had once gathered at a cage summit solely to address them. Angel or not, I suggest you turn around and leave, girl, Anoki sneered, flicking his hand as though brushing off an insect. The Ninetales is ours now. I don't wish to waste lives, but if you stand in our way, Iwagakure will treat this as war. We fear no village, least of all a minor land like the Hidden Rain. The disrespect in his tone made Naruto's blood boil. Without warning, he thrust his palm toward the Tsuchikage and yanked it down. A crushing force slammed Anoki out of the air, driving him into the earth with enough force to carve a crater. "Tsuchikage-sama!" Iwa Shinobi shouted in panic. Several impulsive soldiers rushed through hand signs, but Kitsuchi, standing as second in command, raised an arm sharply. "Hold your ground. Do not move." Naruto ignored them and glared at the old man struggling back to his feet, clutching his aching spine. "Konan is a leader as well," Naruto snapped. "Show some respect when you address her, you decrepit fool." He turned to the shinobi army encircling them, his voice booming with chakra. "You will not claim the Kyuubi. Leave now and no blood will be shed. But if you stay, I will slaughter every one of you, starting with your Tsuchikage." Most Iwa nin laughed at the threat, throwing mocking words back at him. But Anoki's cautious frown betrayed his unease. He hadn't been able to identify the strange jutsu that crushed him earlier, and that uncertainty gnawed at him. Despite his long life, Anoki knew survival came from careful calculation. Yet retreating here in front of his men would make Iwagakure look weak. The will of stone demanded strength, not hesitation. His pride would not allow it. "There are 100 of us, and I am the Tsuchikage," Anoki declared, fury twisting his face. "Before your parents even drew breath, I walked the battlefield. Did you think I'd bow to the words of a child? You need to be taught your place." Naruto's eyes hardened. "Then you have chosen death." "Arrogant brat," Anoki bellowed, forming a cube of white energy between his hands. "Dust release, atomic dismantling jutsu?" The surrounding Iwa shinobi braced themselves, expecting Naruto to be disintegrated before their eyes. Instead, the shining cube collapsed into a harmless stream of light and vanished into Naruto's hand. Anoki froze, wide-eyed. "That's impossible." It was the first time in his life that someone had absorbed his particle style without being reduced to dust. "I warned you," Naruto said icily. "Bansho Tenin." Anoki's body was yanked through the air against his will. His flight technique should have made such control impossible, but the pull was relentless. "Earth style, weighted boulder jutsu," the Tsuchikage roared, his body suddenly 10 times heavier. Yet the pull remained. Kitsuchi slammed his hands onto the ground, raising a massive mud wall just in time. Anoki crashed into it, bruised but saved from Naruto's grasp. Naruto turned to Konan. "Konan, get clear." "Kurama, back into the seal for a moment. I'm about to wipe everything off the surface of this land." Before their stunned eyes, the Kyuubi's massive form dissolved into streams of red chakra, surging into Naruto's body. "Attack!" Kitsuchi commanded, and over 100 Iwa shinobi unleashed jutsu at once. Boulders rained down like a storm of meteors, shrieking through the air toward Naruto. But Naruto didn't falter. From his body sprouted 4 additional arms, and 2 more heads emerged at his shoulders. His form twisted into something monstrous, an Asura reborn. With 6 arms outstretched and 3 pairs of eyes scanning in every direction, he unleashed his power. "Shinra Tensei," a blinding light consumed the night. Silence followed, as though the world itself had been erased. When sound returned, Naruto was plummeting from high in the sky. The earth below was unrecognizable. Mountains flattened, forests erased, entire landscapes obliterated into a crater spanning nearly 10 kilometers. Everything, stone, beast, and shinobi, was gone. Even Naruto was stunned. So this is the Rinnegan's true strength. If Nagato had unleashed such a force upon him, he would have been crushed, no matter how many lives he had. Naruto slammed into the bottom of the crater. His chakra-hardened body cushioned the fall, leaving only faint discomfort in his feet. Did I just kill them all? Over 100 shinobi, including a cage, gone in an instant. He had fought and killed before, but never so many at once. Yet he felt no guilt. They had chosen to be his enemies. Kyubai's laughter thundered inside his mind. Ha ha ha, you slaughtered them like the vermin they were. But then the fox's voice grew serious. Wait, one of them clings to life. I can feel their fear. Naruto staggered slightly as exhaustion washed over him. Kurama's chakra peeled away, and the great beast reformed outside, visibly smaller than before. You're weaker, Naruto noted. The fox's grin was wicked. I poured a massive share of my chakra into your technique. That's why your almighty push reached such devastation. Naruto's realization clicked. He had never unleashed the Deva Path's full strength and training, but this destruction dwarfed even what pain once used to level Konoha. One of those pests is still alive. I'll enjoy tearing him apart piece by piece. Kurama snarled with venom before charging forward. It didn't take the colossal fox long to uncover the spot where the Iwa shinobi had been buried under tons of earth. Sure enough, the one who had survived was the same ninja who had tried to restrain him with that massive earth-style technique. It was none other than Kitsuchi. That's one of the two shinobi whose chakra rivaled mine. Judging by his strength, he must be second only to the Tsuchikage, Konan remarked as she landed gracefully beside Naruto, paper wings fluttering lightly. Kurama, don't kill him, Naruto said firmly as he noticed the fox clawing the unconscious man out and tightening his fist around him. And why not? Kurama's deep voice rumbled with fury. They ruined my den, ambushed me without cause, and even tried to chain me again. Once I crush this insect, I'm heading straight for Iwa. I'll wipe them all off the map. Iwagakure is no small village, Konan replied evenly. Along with Kumigakure, it commands the largest shinobi force in the world, more than 8,000 stationed at home and over 10,000 spread throughout the country. Even with your power, you cannot take them all head-on. Kurama gave her a glare. I don't recall asking for your advice. Naruto stepped in, raising his voice. She's right. You're not even at your full strength yet, and even if you were, a whole village's army isn't something you can crush in a single strike. Let this one go. Let him crawl back to Iwa and spread the story about what happened here, the defeat of their leader and the destruction of their force. That'll scare them more than killing him ever could. Konan nodded. The moment this reaches their ears, no one will dare to test you or aim again. The petrified Kitsuchi trembled silently, staring up at the towering fox, unable to even breathe too loudly. Kurama huffed. So you want to frighten the monkeys by beating the chickens first, eh? Fine, I'll play along this time. Lifting the shinobi to his face, Kurama growled low. You get to keep your pathetic life today, worm. Crawl back to your people and tell them what happened here. But know this, if they ever try something like this again, I'll level Iwa myself. With that, Kurama stood tall on his hind legs and hurled Kitsuchi like a ball, flinging him toward the land of earth. His scream as he vanished into the horizon would have been funny if not for the sheer terror in his voice. Konan glanced at Naruto. Shall we return to aim now? Naruto shook his head. I released all the clones earlier, during, you know. Her lips curved into a rare smile at his flustered face. In that case, I'll fly us back, she said softly, wrapping her arms gently around his torso from behind. Just as they were about to take off, Kurama rumbled, Thank you, Naruto, you pulled me back this time. Naruto gave him a wide grin. Of course, you can count on me. We're partners now, aren't we? HMPH. Only because of the pact, Kurama muttered. Still, you held to your word, I'll give you that. Naruto chuckled. You're terrible at admitting things, you know that? Enough, get moving already, the fox grumbled, turning away. I've got to dig myself a new den now that those vermin destroyed my mountain. Even Konan found herself smiling at the beast's awkward front. All right, stay safe, Kurama, Naruto called as Konan's paper wings carried them into the sky. Yet instead of flying straight to aim, Konan landed them on a grassy riverbank miles away from the Lake of Aim. For some reason, she hadn't gone the full distance. Everything okay? Naruto asked, puzzled. I'm just drained. And a little sore, she admitted. Sore, where did something happen? Did my Shinra Tensei hurt you? A mischievous smile touched her lips at his panic. Oh, it hurt, all right. If I didn't know better, I'd swear you were trying to split me in two. Even in the dim moonlight, she could see his face flush crimson as the meaning sank in. I didn't, sorry. His stammering made her laugh openly. He was so adorably flustered that she gave in to the urge to pull him close, wrapping him in a warm embrace. Still red-faced, he hugged her back, murmuring, "I didn't mean to be rough, it was my first time and I—" "SHH," she hushed him with a finger against his lips. "You didn't hurt me, it was perfect, I'm just sore in the good way." Naruto blinked at the phrase but relaxed, relieved. "Want me to carry you until you recover?" he offered. "No. Let's just stay like this for a while." He didn't argue. After years of loneliness, every bit of affection was precious to him. Settling down on the damp grass, he cradled Konan on his lap, letting her rest against his shoulder. "You were right about the Biju," he whispered after a long silence. "The villages went after Kurama just days after I freed him. I can only imagine what they would have done to the others if I hadn't listened to you." But Konan didn't answer. When he looked down, she was already asleep, her face serene, softened by exhaustion. Smiling at the sight, he held her close. The land of rain had few trees, so he couldn't leap from branch to branch like in Konoha. Walking would have to do. Forming a seal, he summoned a shadow clone. "Get to aim as fast as you can. Summon us when you arrive." "Got it, boss," the clone replied, darting off into the night. Naruto didn't mind waiting. Holding Konan in his arms, listening to the gentle river nearby, he was content. 2 days after the clash with Iwa, the first shipment of coal from Konoha reached Aimgakure's docks. It was only a portion of what Konan had requested from the Hokage, but in good faith, she returned all the captured shinobi to the Konoha squad handling the delivery. Nara Shikaku led the group, relieved to retrieve their people. Though an alliance technically tied Aim and Konoha, it was fragile, more of a truce than true friendship. Shikaku, wary of provoking tension, wasted no time in departing. "Your old comrades seemed like they wanted a word with you," Konan observed as she and Naruto watched the boat sail off. "Funny, you never spoke to them once while they were locked up." "There was nothing to say," Naruto answered simply. "They came here to kill me, attacked me while I was still recovering in a hospital bed. We're not comrades anymore. Anyway, I didn't even know Aim was reachable by boat." Instead of pressing the subject, she explained patiently. 2 rivers flow from the land of Earth into our territory and feed into the lake surrounding Aim. That lake drains into the Shinano River, which travels through the land of rivers and eventually empties into the ocean. Naruto's eyes widened a little. "So that's how it connects. Never heard that before." "Did Konoha Academy teach you no geography?" she teased lightly. He chuckled. "I wasn't exactly the best student. Most of the time, I was either asleep or skipping class. And yet they let you graduate," she laughed. "Well, about that." He grinned sheepishly before retelling the story of Mizuki, the stolen scroll, and his multiple exam failures. Konan couldn't help but giggle. It was hard to reconcile this man, the one who defeated Nagato, with the boy who once struggled to make a simple clone. After a moment, she asked gently, "Do you miss Konoha?" Naruto fell silent, his smile fading. "I'm not sure," he admitted after a pause. "I know I'd never return there, not anymore, but I still think about some of the people I left behind, Uruka-sensei, Tsuchai and Iame at Ikaraku, Konohamaru, even Tsunade. She was like family once, but what would I even say to them now if we met again?" The thought weighed heavy. He couldn't picture himself facing Konohamaru or Uruka, not after the world branded him a deserter and a killer, the man who struck down Might Guy. "I used to brag every day that I'd be Hokage," Naruto muttered bitterly. "And now, to them I'm just another missing nin, a traitor." "Do you ever regret the choices you made?" Konan asked softly. He hesitated, then gave her hand a gentle squeeze, their fingers weaving together. "Maybe things could have been different, but if they had, I might never have met you. You pulled me out of Hozuki Castle. You gave me a second chance. For that, I'll never regret it." Her faint smile lit up her face, pulling one from him as well. It was rare for her to let her emotions show, but when she did, it made his chest feel warm in a way nothing else could. She pressed him again, though. "So, do you regret it or not?" Instead of answering with words, Naruto pulled her close and kissed her deeply. "Was that clear enough?" he teased when they broke apart. She smirked, a little breathless. "Maybe. Not entirely convincing, though." Before he could steal another kiss, her form scattered into countless delicate paper butterflies, fluttering out of his reach. "So that's how you want to play, huh?" "I have no idea what you mean," she teased from the air, laughter trailing behind her. Naruto just raised his hand calmly. "Bansho Tenin." A startled cry escaped her lips as her body was yanked straight back into his arms, slamming against his chest. He caught her by the waist, holding her firm. Really? You'd use your Rinnegan just for that? She exclaimed, half annoyed and half shocked. All's fair in love and war, Naruto laughed, nipping playfully at her neck, making her squeal in protest. Their game ended when raindrops began to fall, soaking the rooftops. But the storm did little to dampen his mood. By now, after months in aim, the rain felt almost natural to him. Conan shaped paper into a floating umbrella above them, then cupped his face tenderly and kissed him again. Despite the downpour and the howling wind, they held each other close on that tower rooftop, the rest of the world forgotten. To Conan, Naruto had reignited a spark she thought she'd lost forever. After Yahiko's death, after Nagato, after endless years of bloodshed and schemes, she had believed joy was gone from her life. But with him, colors returned. Each day she woke eager, her heart lighter, her purpose renewed. For Naruto, Conan had become more than a partner, she was everything. He'd once imagined a future with Sakura, but reality had surpassed every fantasy. Conan never belittled him, never raised her fist, never screamed at him. She was serene, strikingly beautiful, and unwaveringly loyal. When the world abandoned him, she reached out. She gave him rank, recognition, Nagato's Rinnegan, and above all, her devotion. Naruto didn't just love her, he revered her. Later that night, clean from the shower and sated for the moment, they rested together in bed. Naruto leaned back against the headboard while Conan sat between his legs, her back pressed to his chest, a scroll in her hands. "The coal shipment from Konoha will cover us for at least 4 months," she reported. "So the curfew ends?" Naruto asked, peering at the document. "Yes, I'll announce it tomorrow." "Hey, I wasn't done reading," he protested when she swapped the report for another scroll. "You caught the main point. You need to learn to skim or paperwork will bury you alive." "Then I'm glad that's your job, not mine." She chuckled at his sulking. "Didn't you want to be Hawkeye once?" "Not anymore. And don't think you can dump AIM's leadership on me either." Back then, his dream of Hawkeye was more about recognition than power. Now, Conan's acknowledgement was enough. The thought of being chained to a desk for life seemed unbearable. "You know," he said after a pause, "maybe we should find someone else to lead AIM in your place." Conan set her scroll aside and glanced back at him. "Why? Why wouldn't you want that? Don't you get sick of drowning in paperwork?" "You do realize I'm literally made of paper, right?" she teased. When his laugh came out awkward, she kissed his cheek gently. "I don't hate my work," she continued. "I love this village. I want to protect it. I want no child to grow up like I did, starving, alone, running from war. AIM deserves peace. Until I know that future is secure, I won't pass my role to anyone else." Her words carried so much conviction that Naruto stayed quiet, admiring the rare glimpse of her unguarded passion. "Then I'll just be your muscle while you're the brains," he murmured, kissing the top of her head. Her smile returned. Moments later, his eyes landed on a small black notebook. "Wait, is that what I think it is?" Conan followed his gaze. "A bingo book. One of our contacts in Iwa sent it over." "You've got spies in Iwa." "Naturally. Every hidden village plants informants, sometimes shinobi, sometimes trained civilians. The latter are harder to catch, though their intel is limited. This one smuggled us Iwa's latest bingo book edition, probably because you're in it." Naruto's curiosity got the better of him. Abandoning the scroll she held, he grabbed the bingo book and flipped through the pages. "Ha, you're in here too," he said, finding her entry. "Deidara leaked that after I bested Sasori. He couldn't resist rubbing salt in Sasori's wounds. Their endless bickering over art was ridiculous." "Art? Seriously?" Naruto frowned. She chuckled. Deidara believed beauty was in fleeting explosions. Sasori swore art should last forever. They'd nearly come to blows more than once. Pain himself had to step in sometimes. As Naruto skimmed further, he froze at a familiar name. Uchiha Sasuke, the last Uchiha affiliation, Akatsuki, formerly of Konohagakure. Rank, Genin, threat, S-class, notable feats. Orochimaru slain, Itachi slain, Deidara slain, Killer Bee defeated bounty, 95 million ryo. Naruto whistled low. "That's insane. Orochimaru and Itachi both gone and that bounty. Impressive record, isn't it? His bounty reflects not only his crimes, but his difficulty to kill. His fight with the Eight Tails was the final straw for the great nations. It pushed them into the cage summit." "But Bee escaped," Naruto argued. "Doesn't matter. Forcing a Jinchuriki to flee counts as a win in their eyes. Naruto flipped on, relieved not to see himself, until he hit the very last page. Uzumaki Naruto, the Renegade Affiliation, Aimgakure. Formerly of Konohagakure. Rank, Jonin. Threat, flee on sight. Feats, defeated Gaara, Kakuzu, Pain, Kakashi, Might Guy, Sasuke, Madara, killed the third Tsuchikage, destroyed Iwa Force's bounty. 150 million Ryo. His jaw dropped. What the? Half of this isn't even true, Konan peeked over, calm as ever. Looks accurate to me. No way. Gaara wasn't even Kazekage when we fought. And I didn't beat Kakuzu alone. Kakashi struck the final blow. As for Nagato, I had a whole army backing me. And Abaito, that was thanks to you and everyone else. They've twisted everything, she shrugged lightly. That's how it works. They don't care about the truth. They shape the story so you look more dangerous than you are. That way, their own losses don't seem like weakness. This is Iwa's bingo book, written for their shinobi. Of course it's biased. Naruto frowned, still frustrated. She smiled faintly. You've already surpassed Orochimaru's record. His bounty topped at 100 million. Yours starts at 150 million. That alone says everything. Great, Naruto muttered. Can't wait for greedy bounty hunters to line up at my door. Konan laughed, shaking her head. No one in their right mind will chase you. That inflated record works in our favor. You've earned the same flee on sight status as Minato himself. Your name alone will shield AIM better than any army could.